Chapter 2181, Duke Mei, Duke Tong. Chapter 2181, Duke Mei, Duke Tong. Crucial information regarding the battle entered the minds of Duke Mei and Duke Tong. At the moment when they saw the battlefield themselves, they also learned of the current situation. Duke Mei sighed, Duke Long. Back then, when he first saw Duke Long, the latter still had black hair and was a youngster. The moment Duke Long joined Heavenly Court, he met with Duke Mei. Even though Duke Mei was a senior, he quickly greeted in return, "Friend, you are a Dao guardian, the happiness of all living beings is resting on your shoulders." Duke Long replied solemnly, "I will do my best for the world, even if I have to sacrifice my life, there is no regret." Time passed. When Duke Mei reawakened in the 5 regions, Duke Long had already died ahead of him. "Duke Long, you died a good death. Throughout your life, you did not turn on the promise you made from the start," Duke Mei said with deep emotions, before flying forward, "and now, it is our turn." Within Calamity Luck Altar, Bing Sai Chuan's eyes shined with bright light. The immortal graveyard, so it was nearby all along. Heavenly Court has brilliant methods after all, we could not find it even with repeated investigations. Be it Longevity Heaven or Fang Yuan, they had already confirmed the information of the immortal graveyard. They had expected Gu immortals to awaken during this battle. "Quickly look, Fang Yuan's side is making a new action," one of the 8 extremities shouted. Bing Sai Chuan quickly shifted his gaze. He saw that 4 immortal Gu houses, Profound Frost House, Dragon Soul Dark Castle, Red River Pavilion, and Red Heavenly Altar, had changed locations, flying down the mountain. Bing Sai Chuan could not help but feel shocked. It seems that Fang Yuan has a plan already, but mobilizing 4 immortal Gu houses at once, isn't that too much? Fang Yuan had a total of 7 immortal Gu houses, now that Rising Cloud City was given to Demon Immortal Qi Ju, and after moving 4 immortal Gu houses away, there was only Unbreakable Golden Fortress and Scarlet Palace left on the mountain. Currently, the most important thing was to reach the peak of Book Mountain and ruin Heavenly Court's killer move so that they could not obtain Primordial Domain. Right now, Fang Yuan diverted his forces to attack the Gu immortals of the immortal graveyard. He was putting his emphasis on the wrong target. But at the next moment, the 4 diverted immortal Gu houses split up. Profound Frost House and Red River Pavilion went to help Zhan Bu in fighting Qing Chou. Dragon Soul Dark Castle and Red Heavenly Altar charged towards Heavenly Court's immortal graveyard. Bing Sai Chuan realized at once. He yelled in his mind, "So Fang Yuan is trying to free up Zhan Bu." Zhan Bu had incomplete freedom transformation. He was powerful and unstoppable. He was the crucial battle strength for Fang Yuan's side to ascend the mountain. Even though Fairy Ming Hao's humble reciprocation killer move was broken now, there were 3 pseudo-venerables at the top of the mountain. If ordinary rank 8 immortal Gu houses charged to the top, they would be suppressed by the 3. Divine Emperor City was at the middle section of the mountain. It was a tough hurdle too. It had the killer move, Broken Homes and Dead Family. That was the biggest counter to immortal Gu houses. Thus, letting Zhan Bu take the lead was the wisest decision. Dragon Soul Dark Castle and Red Heavenly Altar flew rapidly, soon arriving before Duke Mei and Duke Tong. Duke Mei took in a deep breath. He straightened both arms and aimed at the 2 immortal Gu houses. Vines suddenly appeared around Dragon Soul Dark Castle and Red Heavenly Altar. These vines were dry and tough. They bound the 2 immortal Gu houses tightly. Oh no, the immortal essence storages in the immortal Gu houses are being absorbed by the vines. Fang Yuan's subordinate Gu immortals realized this and shouted in anger. The 2 immortal Gu houses started to counterattack. The surface of Red Heavenly Altar radiated bright red light, melting all of the dried vines around it. Dragon roars could be heard from Dragon Soul Dark Castle. The vines around it were snapped and sent flying. But with this amount of time, Duke Tong's killer move was already prepared. 2 different-sized bronze rings formed instantly and attached themselves to the 2 immortal Gu houses and spinning rapidly, buzzing loudly. The bronze rings were flying too quickly. They seemed like vague shadows that immobilized the immortal Gu houses that they were surrounding. Heavenly Court had learned from their lesson. During the Fate War, because of Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's method, Longevity Heaven managed to directly enter Heavenly Court, catching them off guard. In that battle, even though Heavenly Court's Gu immortals awakened, because they lacked immortal Gu, they did not display their true battle strength. But now, Heavenly Court prepared the immortal Gu of their hibernating Gu immortals in advance. Thus, Duke Mei and Duke Tong were able to immediately act and restrain the two immortal Gu houses. But good times did not last. Suddenly, a dragon soul appeared from within Dragon Soul Dark Castle. The dragon soul made several attempts before managing to destroy the bronze ring. Next, Fairy Miao Yin and Lady White Rabbit flew out of their immortal Gu house, attacking Duke Mei and Duke Tong. Fairy Miao Yin activated Wondrous Hand Profound Sound, her 8 arms stretched out elegantly. Lady White Rabbit had lumps of light surrounding her, her aura surged intensely. The two immortals charged forward. Duke Mei was the first to block them. After a few rounds, Lady White Rabbit noticed a weakness and got around Duke Mei to attack Duke Tong. Duke Tong was interrupted. He had to cancel his bronze ring killer move and fight White Rabbit instead. The four immortals clashed and parted continuously. Nobody could interrupt their battle. Duke Mei and Duke Tong had rank 8 cultivation level and their battle strength was on par with Qin Ding Ling, but they did not have pseudo-venerable battle strength like Duke Long. Dragon Soul Dark Castle and Red Heavenly Altar regained freedom. They charged at the immortal graveyard, trying to destroy it. Rumble. These two immortal Gu houses had just charged forward when a Gu immortal repelled them. This Gu immortal had a calm expression, his nose was tall and his eyes were deep, his shoulders were lifted up as they held up one mini mountain each. With me, Uncle Feng, here, don't even think of destroying the immortal graveyard. Uncle Feng blocked the path of the two immortal Gu houses. He had the demeanor of a person trying to stop an army. Fang Yuan's subordinates were not ready to give up, they controlled the immortal Gu houses to attack. But Uncle Feng fought similarly to Lu Wei Yin. They were specialized in defense. Even with the attack of the two immortal Gu houses, he still held them off. What do we do now? A Gu immortal in Red Heavenly Altar asked. Currently, Fairy Miao Yin and Lady White Rabbit were fighting against Duke Mei and Duke Tong. The mission of destroying the immortal graveyard was in the hands of these two immortal Gu houses. No worries, he has already been hit by our method. The immortals in Dragon Soul Dark Castle snickered. Guh. As he said that, Uncle Feng's expression turned ashen. He spat out pieces of soul fragments. A soul path method? Uncle Feng frowned. In his era, there was no soul path. Right at this moment, a newly awakened Gu immortal flew out of the immortal graveyard. It seems like my awakening was timely. This female immortal was just a soul, she had no body. She blew at Uncle Feng lightly. This blue-gray breath reached Uncle Feng's body and quickly fused into his soul. Uncle Feng felt a sense of relief, his soul injury was rapidly healing. Oh no, this is Heavenly Court's Soul Path great expert from Spectral Soul's era, Fairy Maiden Soul who is on par with Thunder Ghost True Monarch. She is most skilled at healing methods. The Gu immortals in Dragon Soul Dark Castle had a change of expression. The ones in Red Heavenly Altar gritted their teeth. Kill this healing Gu immortal first, otherwise, all our efforts will be nullified by her. The battle erupted again. The two immortal Gu houses focused their target on Fairy Maiden Soul. All sorts of killer moves were unleashed. Uncle Feng defended desperately. Both sides gave it their all as the sky turned dark from their clash. Winds and waves were rising. While they were in a deadlock, another immortal awakened and joined the battle. This immortal had a round head and large ears. He wore a loose robe and Chi Path aura surged around him. Boom boom boom. As the air exploded, the Chi Path immortal charged in between the two immortal Gu houses. Take this move, rugged fiendish Chi. The Chi Path immortal shouted as he waved his sleeves, blowing out countless traces of fiendish Chi. The fiendish Chi gathered and took form, becoming huge rocks that turned into mountains and valleys, enveloping the two immortal Gu houses. Red Heavenly Altar and Dragon Soul Dark Castle tried to charge out at the first moment, destroying countless fiendish Chi mountains. But after these mountains shattered, they quickly formed again to obstruct the immortal Gu houses. This is Senior 7 Fiendish Primeval Monarch. Uncle Feng and Fairy Maiden Soul were surprised. Seven Fiendish Primeval Monarch was a famous chi path expert renowned in history. After he became rank 8 and traveled the world, he purposely looked for the fiendish chi sea springs and created the shabi from them. He refined a total of 99 shabi. He formed a grand army with them. These shabi were compatible with his immortal killer moves. He could use them extremely well. During that era, almost nobody could rival him. The current shabi 95 was one of them. After a long period of time, its strength had risen to legendary immemorial beast level. With the help of 7 Fiendish Primeval Monarch, Heavenly Court managed to defend the immortal graveyard. Thereafter, more and more Gu immortals awakened. Heavenly Court survived the initial stage, which was the most dangerous. They started counterattacking. Many Gu immortals directly got around a small battlefield and tried to reinforce Book Mountain. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable. Are you there? Come out and meet me. Golden Hooped Great Immortal shouted in deep anger. He had once invited Giant Sun Immortal Venerable to tour Heavenly Court. During that time, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable planted a seed that erupted during the Fate War, causing Longevity Heaven to arrive in Heavenly Court and cause huge losses to them. 95, come here. 7 Fiendish Primeval Monarch blocked Demon Immortal Chi Ju and beckoned Shabi 95. Master. Shabi 95 was filled with admiration and fear. It went to 7 Fiendish Primeval Monarch with injuries all over the body. 7 Fiendish Primeval Monarch petted it lightly. Shabi 95 instantly became revitalized, its injuries mostly healed. Demon Immortal Chi Ju had a dark expression. With the appearance of 7 Fiendish Primeval Monarch, his plan of capturing Shabi 95 became hopeless. Stop him. Right at this moment, Fairy Ming Hao shouted. Zhan Bu moved like a raging dragon. He arrived at the middle of the mountain from the southeast direction. Behind him, Qing Chou was chasing relentlessly, but it was obstructed by Profound Frost House and Red River Pavilion. It could not move quickly enough to stop Zhan Bu. 7 Fiendish Primeval Monarch took in a deep breath. You are one of the clones of the current generation demon, Fang Yuan. Let me have a taste of your power. Right when he was about to go, Demon Immortal Chi Ju blocked him. The latter chuckled, you think you can leave? 7 Fiendish Primeval Monarch had a solemn expression. Since Senior insists, then I, the Junior, will have to risk my life to face you in battle. Where are you going? Guyu Fangjing shouted loudly. Demon Judgment Board, which was flying around the place, quickly arrived, but with a loud sound. It was sent flying by the unbreakable Golden Fortress that had just arrived as well. Help Zhan Bu to fight his way to the peak of the mountain. The other immortals saw a chance. They took action and blocked the Heavenly Court Gu immortals for Zhan Bu. Fairy Ming Hao saw this and sighed deeply. She had no choice but to fly out and stand in front of Zhan Bu. Wait. Get lost. Zhan Bu shouted, sweeping his arm fiercely. Boom. Fairy Ming Hao's body was covered in dazzling starlight. Even though she blocked this move, her entire person was sent flying like a cannonball. She crashed through many rocks on Book Mountain before stopping. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2182, Hu Elevation. Chapter 2182, Hu Elevation. Fairy Ming Hao's body shook as she quickly stood up. She was not injured, but the issue here was that she could not block Zhan Bu. In this current situation, Zhan Bu's threat level was far greater than the immortal Gu houses. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Fairy Ming Hao stomped lightly as she quickly flew out, her palms stretched out as tens of stardust specks flew around. Zhan Bu did not dodge, he allowed the stardust to land on him. He was as fierce as a dragon or tiger, only aiming for the mountain peak. Fairy Ming Hao gritted her teeth. She could only fly forward and face Zhan Bu in close combat. Zhan Bu kicked and she was sent flying again. He completely ignored her. Charge! Some Gu immortals saw Zhan Bu ascending to the top of Book Mountain. They were about to cheer when suddenly, starlight flashed before them. Zhan Bu was enveloped by starlight and quickly vanished. When he reappeared, he was at the base of Book Mountain. The immortals were shocked before understanding why. This killer move was not new, it had been used during the Fate War. As expected, when Zhan Bu raised his head to look above Book Mountain, he saw a tiny and delicate Immortal Gu house. Which other chessboard-looking Immortal Gu house could it be but Star Constellation Chessboard? Star Constellation Chessboard radiated with starlight. Any enemy that approached the peak of the mountain would get enveloped by starlight and forcefully teleported elsewhere. It was an impossible position. Fairy Minghao charged at Zhan Bu again, trying to stall him while feeling nervous internally. Hopefully, no one can break this killer move. This move had been used before. The more a Gu immortal uses their method, the greater the risk of it getting seen through. Zhan Bu's gaze turned slightly dim. He soon made a decision. He endured Fairy Minghao's furious attacks as he charged to the top again at full speed. He seemed to have made no advancement, but he had succeeded in his goal. Fairy Fengya was originally fully invested in retrieving the primordial domain. Now, she had to multitask and control Star Constellation Chessboard. Her efficiency was greatly reduced. Feng Yuan's side had to continue exerting pressure to distract her. Fairy Minghao had an outstanding combat system. The more stars that hit the target, the greater the damage they would progressively take. Zhan Bu initially resisted the stars which could not even pierce his skin. But after hundreds of stardust strikes, he was bathed in blood. When the attacks reached over 1,000, his wounds were deep until bones could be seen. During this period, he had already failed in 3 attempts to charge up. He was transported by Star Constellation Chessboard each time. It seems that at this moment, nobody can break this method. Fairy Minghao relaxed at long last. During this period, Gu Immortals had taken action, but Star Constellation Chessboard's killer move was constantly modified by Heavenly Court to a mild extent, allowing it to display effectiveness even now. This cannot drag on. Sea Ancestor had been fighting against Fairy Xiu all along. Seeing Zhan Bu's state, he made a decision. He waved his sleeves, a silhouette flew out, taking the place of the main body to deceive Fairy Xiu. Fairy Xiu quickly exposed this fake body, but Lu Weiyin flew in front of her, desperately blocking her. Because Fairy Xiu was stalled for a moment, Sea Ancestor, who was far away, summoned a secluded domain of heaven and earth above his head. Hu Land. Demon Immortal Qi Ju was fighting against 7 fiendish Primeval Monarch. At this moment, both of them turned around together and shouted in unison. Move aside. Sea Ancestor's sleeves fluttered intensely along with his beard, his face was flushing red. Lu Weiyin quickly dodged to the side. But Sea Ancestor suddenly changed directions, aiming towards Book Mountain instead. Oh no! Fairy Xiu saw this and her heart jumped. She quickly used a killer move, disregarding the danger as she stood between Sea Ancestor and Book Mountain. Immortal killer move, Hu Elevation. Hu Land suddenly shook intensely as countless Qi currents shot out of it fiercely. Qi currents surged intensely and grandly. There was righteous Qi, evil Qi, blood Qi, strange Qi, and others. They had gathered into a single force under the effect of Hu Land. They were tightly connected and inseparable. Bam! Heaven and earth shook. It could astound demons and gods. An immensely thick Qi beam shot out abruptly. It flew towards Book Mountain with terrifying force that could split heaven and earth. Fairy Xiu gritted her teeth. She used the strongest defensive method that she possessed. Traces of fresh wisdom path insignia surrounded her body, radiating over the world. As the Qi beam approached, the wisdom path insignias were quickly melted, and Fairy Xiu's tiny body was quickly submerged in the vast force. The Qi beam was obstructed by this and lost 30% of its power, but it still moved towards Book Mountain with an unstoppable momentum. Don't even think of it. At the crucial moment, Baizang Shui controlled a rank 8 Immortal Gu house and charged forward. With a heaven-shaking sound, Heavenly Court's rank 8 Immortal Gu house only lasted for a few breaths of time before disintegrating. On Book Mountain, Star Constellation Chessboard shot out a beam of light that landed on Baizang Shui through the gaps of the Immortal Gu house, bringing her away. Without Baizang Shui controlling it, the Immortal Gu house quickly got destroyed by the Qi beam, turning into scraps. Next, even the scraps were blown to oblivion by the Qi beam. The Qi beam's power weakened by another 20%, but it was less than 100 steps away from Book Mountain. At the crucial moment, a golden-green giant appeared. It was Qing Chou. Qing Chou raised its shield and blocked the Qi beam. Boom! The Qi pillar sent Qing Chou crashing into Book Mountain as well, creating a huge pit that was hundreds of feet deep. Even as the Qi beam dissipated, the lingering aura permeated the battlefield. Qing Chou did not move at all, its shield was destroyed and a huge hole that was completely see-through appeared on its chest. Divine Emperor City quickly came over with flickering green light, a spiral appeared and sucked Qing Chou's dead body back into it. Elsewhere, starlight specks started to shine beside Fairy Ming Hao as Fairy Yuxiu appeared. Her hair was disheveled, she was in a pitiful state. Her expression was pale, her body was unstable, she fell to a half-kneeling position on the ground immediately after. Sea Ancestor's Hu elevation killer move was terrifyingly powerful, he defeated Yuxiu, destroyed the immortal Gu house, and killed Qing Chou in just one move. But Sea Ancestor was in poor condition as well. After using this move, he lost 30% of his immortal essence storage, he even expended 10,000 Qi Path Dao marks. Chains started to appear from the space around him, binding Sea Ancestor in a fixed position. Sea Ancestor's killer move was too powerful, it caused limitless retaliation method to trigger. Lu Wei-yin saw this and his expression changed slightly. If this Hu elevation was not used on Book Mountain, which was guarded by Heavenly Court desperately, it would have caused immense destruction to the Great Worlds. That would severely affect Limitless Demon Venerable's final derivation. Thus, Limitless Demon Venerable's method activated, restraining Sea Ancestor immediately. Sea Ancestor wanted to struggle but was helpless to find that he could not move, the chains even moved into his mind, stopping the collision of his thoughts. There were also chains in his immortal aperture that sealed all his immortal essence. Lu Wei-yin quickly went to him and guarded his body. The peak of Book Mountain was still not taken down, the primordial domain silhouette in the sky was becoming more vivid, but Bing Sai Chuan smiled from within Calamity Luck Altar. Heavenly Court is at their wits' end too. Earlier, even though Heavenly Court blocked Hu elevation at the critical moment, they had expended their trump cards, they were exhausted now. Bing Sai Chuan could tell that they were weakened, he immediately said to the 8 extremities behind him, "The time is now, go and attack Book Mountain." Heaven Extremity Gai Mei, Earth Extremity Gan Ni, Black Extremity Sun Ming Lu, Yellow Extremity Jiaohua, Space Extremity Chang Bai, Time Extremity Man Xine, Flood Extremity Uee, and Desolate Extremity Lu Tonglan, they were all mobilized. Once they left Calamity Luck Altar, the 8 of them activated an ancient battle formation, 8 extremities. This ancient battle formation was very special. Normally speaking, ancient battle formations gathered the strength of many Gu immortals into one, but this ancient battle formation split the gathered power into 8 Gu immortals, causing the 8 extremities' battle strength to surge immensely, making them go from rank 7 to rank 8 elites. Once the 8 extremities moved out, from the direction of Yellow Earth Great World, a group of people came. They were led by Fang Yuan's enslavement path clone Wu Shuai, and the giant formed from the 12 Zodiac battle formation. Originally, Fang Yuan was waiting at the back while observing the situation. Once he saw a chance, he mobilized his people to attack. Heavenly Court's pressure intensified at once. In order to prevent the Gu immortals from breaking through, Heavenly Court's Gu immortals flew out of their immortal Gu houses. Instantly, the battle surrounding Book Mountain reached the most intense climax. Almost each breath, there would be a killer move unleashed. Countless killer moves weaved together and created a beautiful fireworks of varying colors. From within the dazzling display, there was deep killing intent. Red Heart Traveler suddenly held up a sun of blood that shone brightly, shielding 9 spiritual fairy. 9 spiritual fairy gave a clear roar, the 9-colored barrier shook and the 9 layers of light mixed together, becoming extremely dazzling. Next, the mixed light sphere flashed as 9 spiritual fairy transformed into a colorful rhinoceros. The rhinoceros had a large head and small body, it was shining with various colors. It spoke human language, "Thank you." Saying so, it charged towards the 12 Zodiac giant. Rumble. The 2 huge existences clashed, dust clouds rose and rocks were sent flying. The moment 9 spiritual fairy left, Yellow Extremity Jiaohua appeared behind Red Heart Traveler. Pew! As flames surged, Red Heart Traveler was caught unguarded and got hit by Yellow Extremity. His defensive killer move was pierced and he got substantially injured. How can this be? Red Heart Traveler was shocked but quickly retaliated. But at the next moment, Yellow Extremity pierced through space, escaping far away. Red Heart Traveler saw this, his heart sank. He could tell that Yellow Extremity was a fire path cultivator, but he managed to unleash a space path method. So Longevity Heaven's 8 Extremities killer move can not only connect the thoughts of the 8 extremities together and share their vision, they can also share killer moves. Under the effect of the killer move 8 Extremities, the 8 extremities cooperated smoothly. The battle strength they displayed was beyond imagination. Red Heart Traveler became incredibly alert, he swiftly dodged attacks. At the next moment, countless army ants swept the base of the mountain like a tsunami, quickly rising to the middle of the mountain. Wu Shuai did not step onto the mountain, he was outside manipulating his army. Divine Emperor City sent out countless Divine Being soldiers to fight against the army ants. In the chaotic battle, a figure flew out like a rampaging dragon. There were huge waves wherever he went. There was a cape behind him that was blood red in color. He was Zhan Bu. Fairy Yu Xiu had already gone to obstruct the 8 extremities, while Fairy Minghao was sent flying by Zhan Bu again. Stop him! Fairy Minghao shouted loudly. Ruan Dan was nearby. It hesitated upon hearing this, not daring to move forward. Zhou Xianxia gritted his teeth. He stood before Zhan Bu. Immortal killer move, rumors become tigers. Fierce tigers roared, charging towards Zhan Bu with imposing might. Zhan Bu sucked in with his mouth as the tigers were absorbed into his stomach. He easily arrived in front of Zhou Xianxia. Zhan Bu punched directly, piercing Zhou Xianxia's chest as his hand appeared behind the victim. Zhou Xianxia's eyes were wide open, he died on the spot. Zhan Bu waved his arm. This corpse was sent flying. He met with the awakened Gu immortal fairy maiden soul next. Zhan Bu shouted loudly, his monstrous strength obliterated fairy maiden soul, her soul was completely destroyed. Zhan Bu stomped as he finally arrived at the top of the mountain. This time, Star Constellation Chessboard had ceased attacking as well. It did not shoot out any more star pillars. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2183, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. Chapter 2183, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. Star Constellation, as a child, was laughing happily. She wandered around the back mountain, roamed the multicolored flower fields, and played with the sweet mountain springs. She teased a young, intelligent leopard cat which she had saved coincidentally. These last days, she would often come to the cave to see it, feed it, and play with it. You are playing around again? A voice suddenly came from behind. The child Star Constellation's body shook. She felt her skull turning numb as she slowly turned around and saw the white-robed, solemn-looking Primordial Origin Immortal Venerable. Master. Star Constellation lowered her head, saying softly. Give your hand. Primordial Origin Immortal Venerable brought out a ruler. Star Constellation gritted her teeth as she stretched out her small white hand. Slap. The ruler struck her palm and left a red mark. The intense pain struck her, but Star Constellation fought back the tears. The homework that you did recently is a total mess. Instead of training killer moves, you are playing with a cat here. Primordial Origin Immortal Venerable looked at the leopard cat behind Star Constellation. The child Star Constellation immediately brimmed with tears. Master, don't be angry, don't chase little yellow away. Its injuries have just healed. I promise I will definitely practice my killer moves. Primordial Origin Immortal Venerable fixed his gaze at Star Constellation, but Star Constellation drummed up her courage and held her gaze, like she would protect the leopard cat no matter what. Primordial Origin Immortal Venerable's expression was stiff. He picked up the child Star Constellation. Come with me. Star Constellation felt a strong wind brushing past her face and could not open her eyes. After some time, the roar of the wind suddenly stopped and she felt her feet touching the ground. Take a look. Primordial origin Immortal Venerable's voice reached her. Star Constellation opened her eyes and saw that she was in a ruin. Her pupils shrunk, her sight was filled with burning houses and corpses of man, woman, old, and young. This village was peaceful and quiet, but because it is near the regional wall, a group of variant human bandits invaded and massacred everyone. Do you know how often this situation occurs? Primordial origin Immortal Venerable asked. The child Star Constellation was deeply shocked, shaking her head subconsciously. This kind of situation is happening almost every day. Primordial origin Immortal Venerable heaved a sigh. Not only at the periphery of Central Continent, there are remnant variant humans even deep within Central Continent itself. They come out occasionally and kill us humans. Heavenly Court is already established in Central Continent, humanity has firm dominance, while the variant human super forces have gone into hiding or have left Central Continent. As for the other 4 regions, variant humans still hold power. Do you know why that is the case? The child Star Constellation answered quickly, I know. I heard from the senior brothers and sisters that Master roamed the 5 regions and attacked all the variant human super forces. No matter how many variant human Gu immortals there are, they cannot beat you. But they all hid away, so we cannot find them. Right. Primordial origin Immortal Venerable nodded his head. When immortal apertures are placed in the world, they shrink down to the size of a speck. Searching them is extremely difficult, like searching for a needle in the ocean. Because of this, even though humanity has me, an Immortal Venerable invincible in the world, we are still unable to get rid of those variant humans. Although we have taken control of Central Continent, the other 4 regions are still not liberated. Because our human population is too small, we cannot compare to variant humans. Even if we target the 4 regions' variant human Gu masters and mortals, even if we kill them all, as long as those variant human blessed lands and grotto heavens exist, they can easily nurture countless variant humans. Once blessed lands and grotto heavens hid, they were difficult to find, and the time inside was much faster than the outside world. The population inside could increase much more rapidly. Every once in a while, the blessed lands and grotto heavens could open their entrance and release the extra population in the 4 regions. These Gu immortals' immortal apertures are the foundations of the variant humans. If we cannot find their specific locations, when I die, humanity will still be in a perilous situation, the past tragedy will repeat once more. Primordial origin Immortal Venerable heaved a deep sigh and stroked the child Star Constellation's hair. This is why you need to work hard. Fate has decreed that you will become the future Immortal Venerable and create Wisdom Path. With Wisdom Path, we can deduce the location of most of the blessed lands and grotto heavens, we can kill those variant human Gu immortals and ensure the prosperity of humanity for countless generations ahead. Xianxia, 1. You need to understand that with every moment you spend playing around, more of our people will die under the blades of the variant humans. Among them, there are many old people, and also many who are the same age as you. While you are playing, the children who are of your age lie in a pool of blood, unable to see the sun of tomorrow. The child Star Constellation was pale as paper as she pursed her lips in silence. Primordial origin Immortal Venerable used his killer move again, bringing her back to the back of the mountain. He did not instruct her anymore and left her by herself. Several days later, the child Star Constellation parted with the leopard cat Little Yellow. Despite Little Yellow being very reluctant to leave, she still returned it to the forest. When she was alone, she squatted on the ground and held her knees, weeping softly to herself. Although Master is completely right, I am only just a child. The senior brothers and sisters can have fun, so why can't I? Is it simply because fate decreed me as the future Immortal Venerable? The child Star Constellation cried for a long time till nighttime. The sky was filled with stars. She slowly stood up, her small, round face still had tear stains. A lump of starlight gushed out of her heart. Star Constellation held this starlight and threw it on the back of the mountain. This lump of starlight bore a vague resemblance to her shadow. The child Star Constellation said to this starlight shadow, "Actually, I don't want to become an Immortal Venerable, but fate cannot be changed. Everyone is so kind to me, I need to think for them as well and bring happiness to the whole of humanity. If there is a second life, I want you to play all you want and make up for my regret in this life." The starlight shadow did not leave. The child star Constellation looked at her and said, "Let me give you a name. Since Master often praises my wittiness, bright eyes and white teeth, let's call you Ming Hao." The starlight shadow seemed to be very happy after receiving the name. It left quickly. Teenage star Constellation grew into a young lady, and she was now an immortal. She did not just stay in closed cultivation, she often traveled to different places to enrich her experience. There was no use in just cultivating behind closed doors, because what she needed to do was not to inherit primordial origin immortal Venerable's legacy, but to create wisdom path. When she was traveling Eastern Sea with a disguised identity, she became acquainted with a Gu immortal. Under some coincidences, she and this Gu immortal ran into each other time and again. They joined hands to fight and got rid of variant human tribes, they explored sea trenches, and so on. Their friendship deepened, which eventually turned into feelings of fondness. But you are a variant human. When Star Constellation saw her beloved's true appearance, she stepped back in shock. "Xianxia, I did not hide it on purpose, please listen to my explanation." Her beloved one was anxious. Star Constellation, however, shook her head and flew up to the sky. The man gave chase without letting up, but because of his heavy injuries, he fell from the sky in the end. When he gained consciousness, he found that he was lying on a beach and Star Constellation was beside him. "You saved me, Xianxia. I know it is you, where are you? Come out and meet me." The man was both surprised and happy as he struggled to get up and shouted with all his strength, but he received no reply after all. In the end, he could only leave the island. Under the setting sun, looking at his lonely receding figure, Star Constellation stood on the beach and revealed herself. Her eyes were brimming with tears along with reluctance to part with him. "Why do you have to be a variant human? How great would it be if you were human? Do you know that I already thought of marrying you? According to customs, Master had already prepared embroidered tower for me as dowry. But I cannot do it. Because I am Star Constellation, the future immortal Venerable of humanity. I need to get rid of the variant human Gu immortals for my people. If I become your wife, how can I attack them? Once the variant humans get comfortable, what will happen to the future of humanity?" Her master's anticipation, the hope of humanity, and the support of the people around her, all of these burdens were weighing on Star Constellation's shoulders. But her heart still ached. The pain of unfulfilled love almost tore her soul apart. Starlight started to gush out of Star Constellation's heart. She held this lump of starlight again. She mumbled to the starlight shadow, "Since he praised my beauty and talent, I will name you Yushio. If there is another life, please live well for me, don't care about the future of humanity, don't think about the safety of people, for just once, live for yourself and be selfish, go ahead and love, you can cry to your heart's content." The starlight shadow rippled as if replying to her. In her later years, Star Constellation had already become a venerable. Inside a hall, she sat on the main seat, looking at her senior sister who had always supported and taken care of her. She was like her own mother. "Let me do it." The senior sister shouted, "Ah Su, you are the great immortal Venerable, you cannot sacrifice yourself to merge with heaven's will." "No." Star Constellation shook her head softly, "Precisely because I am the immortal Venerable, I need to do this." The senior sister's eyes were filled with tears. "Ah Su, you were only 3 years old when you became Master's disciple. I have taken care of you this entire time, I looked at you grow bit by bit, mature step by step, and finally become the Star Constellation immortal Venerable of humanity. No one knows better than me how much sadness and pain you have endured in this process. You have already sacrificed too much over these years. Now, you have already done a great job and fulfilled everyone's expectations. Don't make sacrifices anymore, you still have a lot of time to do what you want to do. Didn't you often complain to me? Although your life seemed great and you have been praised by countless people, you still hold many regrets. Ah Su, you deserve a better life from now on. You have sacrificed too much for humanity, it is time for you to live for yourself. So this time, let me assimilate with heaven's will. Star Constellation smiled, her figure flashed and appeared before her senior sister. She softly wiped her senior sister's tears and took out a lump of starlight from her heart. Senior sister. You praised me for my great magnanimity. I shall name this starlight Shadow Fonya, let her accompany you in my stead. I was an orphan from birth, you looked after me all my life, you are my sister and also like my mother. How can I let you do this? In any case, I have already sacrificed and given up so much, it is already like a habit for me. Haha. Let Fonya stay and look after you, she will help me make up for the regrets in life. I have left behind 3 starlight shadows, they are also my arrangements for revival. I do not want to see the day where I can revive, but if the situation aggravates to that degree and I revive, I will listen to you, my senior sister. Forget about this world or the whole of humanity, I will live for myself and myself only. For once, I want to be selfish too. Crazed Demon Cave. When Ming Hao, Yu Xiu, and Fonya woke up, they received devastating news. Fate Gu was destroyed, Heavenly Court had fallen to an abysmal state, the great demon Fang Yuan had risen up, the righteous path was declining while demons surged, Central Continent was surrounded by danger on all fronts. I once vowed to myself. I want to live my own life. To live for my pleasure, to live for my love, and to live for my happiness. Was I wrong? I had already completed my mission, I created Wisdom Path, I already got rid of most of the variant human Gu immortals, I even led humanity on the path of prosperity. It was time I took a rest. But why? Why did I subconsciously make plans and arrangements? Why am I still fighting here? Why? Fairy Ming Hao looked at the rising fire and smoke, she curled her lips. Fairy Yu Xiu looked at demon immortal Qi Ju and the 8 extremities with a cold gaze. Fairy Fonya looked at the charging Zhan Bu and smiled plainly. At this moment, starlight flickered on the bodies of the 3 fairies, resonating with bright radiance. The 3 immortals recited together. A life of selfless giving. Worrying and helping the people. Sacrificing my body and life. For starlight to radiate the world. Everything changed upon revival. The 5 regions became unrecognizable. Only my heart remained the same. The 3 avatars unite to save heaven. Starlight connected and fused into one, its radiance rising towards the sky. The light soon formed into an immortal with peerless beauty, her eyes shone brightly like stars in the sky. Star Constellation. Star Constellation. Star Constellation. 1. Star Constellation's name, which also became her title later, much like Paradise Earth. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2184, Immortal Venerables enter Primordial Domain. Chapter 2184, Immortal Venerables enter Primordial Domain. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. On the peak of Book Mountain, the scene of 3 star avatars joining into one and turning into Star Constellation Immortal Venerable shocked the immortals, who were bathed in blood. Although the immortals already expected the revival of Venerables with Fate Gu being destroyed, when a Venerable really revived in front of them, they still could not help but feel intense shock. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. The only female among the 10 Venerables. She created Wisdom Path, inherited Primordial Origin Immortal Venerable's will, developed Heavenly Court, assimilated with Heaven's will, and helped Heavenly Court resist 3 demon Venerables. Her name was always resplendent in the history of humanity, her glorious reputation had never dimmed. Now, she had revived. Star Constellation, take this punch. Zhan Bu did not have any hesitation as he stepped on the mountain peak, and with a thunderous voice, he attacked Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's revival did not surprise Fang Yuan. In fact, he already had some speculations regarding the identities of Ming Hao, Yu Xiu, and Fonya. These 3 had extremely high strength, they were all pseudo-venerables. Just this point alone was enough to explain the problem. Heavenly Court was persistent in repairing fate and had worked for it for over 1 million years. But in the crucial fate war, there was only one pseudo-venerable battle strength, Duke Long, defending Heavenly Court. But right now in Crazed Demon Cave, Heavenly Court had suddenly brought out 3 pseudo-venerable battle strength experts. This proved that these 3 female immortals had revived only after the destruction of Fate Gu. If not for this, how could they not participate in the fate war? Since they were revived pseudo-venerables, their names should have been renowned in history, but they were shrouded in mystery. More importantly, there was no trace of Star Constellation Immortal Venerable from the start. With these several clues and his strong wisdom path attainment, Fang Yuan deduced that the probability of these 3 immortals being Star Constellation was increasingly obvious. It was like how Fang Yuan could create clones like Sea Ancestor, Zhan Bu, and Wu Shuai. Why could Star Constellation Immortal Venerable not do the same? It was just that Star Constellation's 3 avatars were more profound and mysterious than Fang Yuan's clones. The 3 fairies could become Star Constellation by fusing together. Zhan Bu showed no fear against the revived Star Constellation. Before his punch even landed on Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, the intense wind from his punch blew Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's long hair into the air. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, however, was smiling. At the next moment, Zhan Bu struck Star Constellation, but he passed right through her. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's figure vanished like an illusory bubble. This was fake, it was merely an illusion. Zhan Bu realized this and quickly activated an investigative method, but could not detect Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's main body. Star Constellation, please hold on. Suddenly, Immortal Zombie Giant Sun's voice came from Calamity Luck Altar. Golden light drifted in the air, revealing Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's figure. But Star Constellation Immortal Venerable used a killer move. Inside her immortal aperture, Fairy Fonya's Talent Gu, and Fairy Yuxiu's Serious Gu and Learning Gu, which were temporarily taken out from Divine Emperor City, activated one after the other. Immortal essence was consumed intensely. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's figure turned illusory again. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun's golden light could not obstruct her any longer. Under everyone's gaze, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable flew to the sky grandly and entered Primordial Domain. Damn it! Zhan Bu gritted his teeth as he gave chase. However, although he caught up to Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, she was like a silhouette that could not be disturbed by Zhan Bu. She quickly entered the depths of Primordial Domain. But Zhan Bu passed through Primordial Domain. Without special methods, there is no way to enter Primordial Domain. Zhan Bu's eyes burned with anger. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable was revived. But she did not fight Zhan Bu, instead choosing to directly head to Primordial Domain. She was a Venerable, she could not make a move casually, otherwise, she would be suppressed by limitless demon Venerable's methods just like Sea Ancestor. She directly left without caring for Heavenly Court's immortals, Book Mountain, and the whole battlefield, but this became a fatal move. Lu Weiyin's expression was ashen and extremely unsightly. Primordial Domain was the crucial factor of the battle in Crazed Demon Cave. The reason they attacked Book Mountain furiously was to obstruct Heavenly Court from obtaining Primordial Domain. They never expected that even though Star Constellation Immortal Venerable was unable to get Primordial Domain, she could directly fly into it. Zhan Bu lacked suitable methods and could not block her. In fact, even Immortal Zombie Giant Sun made a move but was unable to obstruct Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. What do we do? Lu Weiyin was at a loss. Once Star Constellation Immortal Venerable entered Primordial Domain to replenish her lost attainment level, she would quickly become a Wisdom Path Supreme Grandmaster and regain her status of the Wisdom Path Dao Lord. Is Heavenly Court going to continue controlling the future of this world? Bing Sai Chuan sighed dejectedly. Not necessarily. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun sneered, let's go. At the next moment, Calamity Luck Altar shone with dazzling golden light. The golden light shot everywhere before joining together and making a path that stretched forward. It was Calamity Luck Altar's killer move, luck-changing golden light path. At the same time, Luck Suppression Heavenly Palace that was stationed in Savage Wilderness Great World also let out a majestic light. Ever since Luck Suppression Heavenly Palace was brought into Crazed Demon Cave, it had actively participated and cooperated with Limitless Demon Venerable's deductions regarding the development of the worlds. It had gotten deeply involved. Luck Suppression Heavenly Palace's light shone on Calamity Luck Altar, creating mysterious changes in the luck-changing golden light path. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun flew out of Calamity Luck Altar and followed the golden light path into Primordial Domain. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun was unable to stop Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, but he possessed the #1 luck path attainment in the world. He made use of Calamity Luck Altar and Luck Suppression Heavenly Palace to enter Primordial Domain. Longevity Heaven's immortals cheered as they saw this. But Fang Yuan's subordinates were pale. Damn it, damn it. Lu Weiyin's expression was extremely unsightly. Although Longevity Heaven cooperated with Fang Yuan, their main goal was to make use of him. Right now, Immortal Zombie Giant Sun directly abandoned Fang Yuan and entered Primordial Domain himself. It was obvious that he was seeking to replenish his luck path attainment level in Primordial Domain and become a luck path Dao Lord once again. Both Heavenly Court and Longevity Heaven threw Fang Yuan aside. Is this a Venerable's foundation? Xiao He Jian heaved a sigh. Should we retreat? Ice Crystal Immortal Monarchs will started to waver. Fang Yuan was the source of these variant human Gu immortals' confidence, but currently, it was obvious Fang Yuan could not compare to the two Venerables. This made the variant human Gu immortals' morale fall sharply. No need to worry. At this time, Fang Yuan's main body came over from Yellow Earth Great World. His expression was still calm. Lu Weiyin's eyes shone with hope. Lord Fang Yuan, you have a way. Fang Yuan nodded, looking towards Rising Cloud City. Qi Ju, let's cooperate once again. Demon Immortal Qi Ju flew over from Rising Cloud City. Heh, I knew you had ulterior motives when you gave me the rank 8 Immortal Gu house. But your killer move has no issue. Come, let's work together. Fang Yuan stretched out his hand, taking out Hu Lan from the Qi Si clone's immortal aperture. At the same time, Shi Land appeared above Demon Immortal Qi Ju. Hu Land and Shi Land came together and shone on each other. Lu Weiyin was exulted when he saw this. I get it, the Legends of Ren Zu has records of this. The Legends of Ren Zu, Chapter 5, Section 37. Wisdom Gu was bitten by Self Gu, it felt very angry and decided to take revenge. Wisdom Gu found Lai Gu, no matter what I say, my words are filled with wisdom, they will advise and help others. This won't do, so I came to you for help. Lai Gu asked, how do you want me to help you? Wisdom Gu said, this is easy and simple. Ren Zu and his children are in Primordial Domain now. In front of Primordial Domain is Shi Land, while behind it is Hu Land. Go to Primordial Domain and deceive Ren Zu, tell him Hu Land is in front while Shi Land is behind. Lai Gu was puzzled, that can help you take revenge. Wisdom Gu laughed loudly, humans need to breathe in first before they can breathe out. Meanwhile, Shi Land and Hu Land are the breathing of heaven and earth. Just follow my instructions. Lai Gu followed Wisdom Gu's arrangements and went to Primordial Domain. It told Ren Zu, human, you need to be careful. You are in a mystical place, you will reach Hu Land if you go forward and Shi Land if you move back. Ren Zu had been thinking of leaving Primordial Domain, he thought, the beast men once advised me to not go to Hu Land. In that case, I shall head towards the back and go to Shi Land. Ren Zu moved towards the back of Primordial Domain with his children Great Strength True Martial and Carefree Wisdom Heart. Thus, they arrived at Hu Land. This is not Shi Land. Carefree Wisdom Heart knew they had been deceived. Ren Zu patted his chest, fortunately, I died once and Betrayal Gu has already left me. Otherwise if I care, 1, Betrayal Gu will harm me. But Great Strength True Martial suddenly realized something and shouted, this is bad. What's wrong? Ren Zu was just about to ask when Self Gu flew out of his body. Self Gu left Ren Zu, leaving behind a sentence, oh human, after you put attitude Gu on me, you deceived even yourself, so don't blame me for leaving you. Back then, Ren Zu protected weak Gu. Weak Gu urged Ren Zu to put attitude Gu on self Gu to deceive himself, creating the perfect deception that managed to even deceive the predicament. If humans deceive themselves, their sense of self would leave and the person would lose themselves. Ren Zu was angry and anxious. What to do? Self Gu left me. How can I obtain freedom without it? How can I break free of the restraints of fate? Self Gu once took a bite of betrayal Gu, so it gained the inclination to betray. I was already dissatisfied with it. Great strength true marshal's ability Gu shouted. The skilled were naturally dissatisfied with themselves. Self Gu will be out of our sight soon, we need to give chase. Carefree wisdom heart reminded. The three immediately chase after Self Gu. Self Gu left very fast and dove into a river. The river's surface was calm with ice of all sizes floating on it. This is the river of time, the ice floating on the river is called truthful floating ice. Ren Zu's group recognized it immediately, they had gained this knowledge in the Qian Kun crystal wall. Ren Zu looked afar and said, I think Self Gu is hiding in the center of the floating ice, let's quickly go and catch it. 1. Care is read as at who here, it's a word pun. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2185, Fang Yuan enters Primordial Domain. Chapter 2185, Fang Yuan enters Primordial Domain. Ren Zu's group sized up the situation by the riverside. Every piece of floating ice in the river of time was a piece of truth. Ren Zu observed for a long while before pointing towards a floating ice. This floating ice is neither big nor small and has a smooth surface, let's step on this. But great strength true marshal said, this floating ice is clearly too small, it is not enough for us three. Carefree wisdom heart shook her head, this floating ice is quite big but there are many spikes on it, they will pierce our feet. Even when looking at the same truth, from the perspectives of different people, they could be big or small, minor or severe, difficult or easy. Some could accept it, but some could not. Ren Zu's group discussed for a long while before they chose a floating ice and stepped on it. When Ren Zu stepped on this ice, he immediately cried and sniveled, great strength true marshal shouted in anger, while carefree wisdom heart laughed happily. When looking at the same truth, different people would have different feelings and emotions regarding it. Ren Zu and his children could only endure this. Every piece of floating ice in the river of time is a cold and silent truth. But we humans have hearts, we feel emotions when we come across truths, and when truths and emotions mix, they create different situations, one, for everyone. Carefree wisdom heart recalled the knowledge in her mind. The floating ice carried the group and drifted for a while before it started shrinking and submerging. Let's jump to that floating ice. Ren Zu pointed towards the left, at his front. Before the floating ice under them submerged, the three jumped to the second floating ice. This piece of truth created different emotions in Ren Zu's group. The longer they stood on the floating ice, the more these emotions accumulated. As the floating ice continued to sink, the emotions they felt also changed. Some went from angry to happy, while others went from happy to depressed. I can't endure this anymore, I feel horrible. After persisting for a while, Ren Zu said while grasping his heart, let's jump to that floating ice. The three jumped over, but shortly afterwards, carefree wisdom heart said, I cannot stand this situation, I am also feeling extremely down. I even want to die. Ren Zu's group of three quickly changed to another floating ice. No matter what truth they came upon, in reality, they could be endured by gritting one's teeth. The most dreadful thing was the suffering of the heart. If the heart could not endure it, the person would be unable to continue moving forward. After changing several pieces of floating ice, great strength true marshal felt the least amount of discomfort, I am still fine. Strong Gu shouted proudly in his heart, there are too many situations in the world, but it has always been the weak who suffer more than the strong. Fortitude Gu called out, the credit here goes to me because I have been helping you since the start. Fortitude Gu could suppress emotions. Suddenly, 2 Gu worms grew on carefree Wisdom Heart's palms. The Gu on the left palm was called good. The Gu on the right palm was called bad. Humans, we can help you distinguish which situation is good and which is bad. Good Gu and Bad Gu said together in a soft voice. Thus, with the help of Good Gu and Bad Gu, Ren Zu's group was able to choose a piece of floating ice that had a good situation. All 3 of them felt happy when standing on this floating ice. When the floating ice started to submerge and good situations turned bad, the 3 jumped away. Like this, the 3 gradually turned happy, then ecstatic, before finally becoming euphoric. They could not move forward anymore as they drowned in emotions of endless joy. The 3 forgot about their situation, the truthful floating ice they were standing on submerged completely, they fell into the river one after the other. Crazed Demon Cave, 8th layer. She land. Who land? The 2 secluded domains of heaven and earth let out misty white light that mixed into one and formed a horizontal pillar of light. The final step. Fong Yuan let out a breath of relief as he activated a killer move. Chi aura flew into the light pillar, forming a vortex in the middle. The vortex shot to the sky, and when the white light vortex touched the surface of primordial domain, it expanded and shrouded the whole primordial domain like a fog. Fong Yuan followed the white vortex of light and went into primordial domain. Amazing, amazing. Primordial domain is in between Shi land and Hu land. Using these 2 secluded domains of heaven and earth, he managed to locate primordial domain. Lu Wei-yin praised loudly as he followed after Fong Yuan. Behind him were pseudo-venerable battle strength experts like Zhan Bu, Demon Immortal Qi Ju, and Qi Sea Ancestor. After these immortals entered primordial domain, the white vortex dissipated rapidly, disappointing those Gu immortals who had been thinking of making a move. Fong Yuan was floating in primordial domain, frowning deeply. The moment he stepped in, countless inspirations appeared in his mind. But this was not a natural process, it was like a forced installation. Fong Yuan experienced an indescribable pain. This pain did not come from his body or soul, it came from his mind. His mental state had been like a lake with no waves, being tranquil like a giant mirror. But now, there were fierce waves moving roughly. This was like a process where an infant who only knew how to eat, drink, sleep, and excrete got forced to learn the joy of a child jumping and playing. If infants jumped and played, they would injure themselves. It was also like a child who thought toys were the most precious thing, but was forcefully instilled the perspective of an adult, that money was the most important thing. A Gu cultivator's attainment level was very hard to raise. By entering primordial domain, Fong Yuan was increasing his attainment level unnaturally and forcefully, it went against the law of nature. Fong Yuan clenched his teeth and endured it. There was no trace of star constellation Immortal Venerable and Immortal Zombie Giant Sun, who had entered earlier. Fong Yuan also did not concentrate on them, he quickly inspected his body and came to a realization. Many paths' attainment levels are increasing rapidly. Refinement path is also among them, but rule path's progress is the fastest. Fong Yuan thought about it and started to move in primordial domain. He used a method which allowed him to fly in primordial domain like a free bird. Primordial domain crumbled apart wherever he went. Fong Yuan's heart sank. Although primordial domain was a secluded domain of heaven and earth, it was extremely fragile. Fong Yuan did not even attack, it was just that he had too many Dao marks, even primordial domain could not endure it. Fortunately, before those areas of primordial domain collapsed, the attainment levels they contained were transferred into Fong Yuan. Fong Yuan felt a sense of urgency. I must find the correct direction quickly. If those areas in the primordial domain that contain refinement path are destroyed, it will be terrible. Fong Yuan was unfamiliar with primordial domain, but all kinds of thoughts clashed in his mind and his profound wisdom path attainment allowed him to quickly understand his situation. Primordial domain contained the profundities of all paths, any Gu cultivator could benefit from it. Fong Yuan acutely adjusted his direction and moved in primordial domain, gaining a lot of progress in his refinement path attainment level. His direction was correct, and soon, his rate of progress in refinement path became the highest, among several other paths that were growing too. Fang Yuan's feeling at this moment could not be expressed in words. Even though he was feeling incomparable pain and his mental state was unstable, he also felt full and satisfied. At the same time, there was also an increasing thirst. This thirst was towards knowledge, towards attainment levels. It is no wonder that in the legends of Ren Zu, after Ren Zu obtained knowledge, he was not satisfied, he kept taking in more knowledge until his brain reached its limit and exploded. Fang Yuan felt a sense of resonance with Ren Zu. Almost there. Fang Yuan endured the pain as joy appeared on his face. His intuition was telling him strongly that he was only a short distance from refinement path Supreme Grandmaster. Rumble. Right at this time, primordial domain shook and large areas started collapsing and breaking apart. Fang Yuan's refinement path attainment level that had been rising stopped abruptly. Giant Sun, Star Constellation. Fang Yuan's gaze turned cold and sharp. He looked far away. Immortal zombie giant Sun and Star Constellation Immortal Venerable were fighting. They selected the location of their fight really well, it was in the main area of refinement path. Once this portion of primordial domain was destroyed, Fang Yuan's refinement path attainment level could not increase anymore. In previous fights, Fang Yuan had probed many weaknesses of longevity heaven and heavenly court. Similarly, details about him were also taken notice of by Immortal Zombie Giant Sun and Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. They were aware that Fang Yuan wanted to break through in refinement path. Since they came to primordial domain a step earlier, how could these two venerables watch without doing anything? Thus, as they fought, they destroyed the future prospects of Fang Yuan. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable must have taken the initiative to attack, and although Immortal Zombie Giant Sun was in an alliance with Fang Yuan, he was definitely happy to take advantage of the situation. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable saw Fang Yuan's main body, immediately pointing at him. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Hundreds of deep blue stars shot towards Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan gave a shout, his whole body emitting 7-colored radiance. Immortal Killer Move, 7 kills Rainbow. Metal Paths Yellow Light, Wood Paths Jade Green Light, Water Paths Light Blue Hue, Fire Paths Red Light, Earth Paths Brown Light, Wind Paths Green Radiance, and Lightning Paths Deep Blue Light. 7 lights from these 7 paths mixed together and shot forward in a drill shape. Bam! The 7 kills Rainbow destroyed most of the stars and continued toward Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. Starlight flashed around Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, blocking this killer move. But she still staggered, and her face revealed surprise. What killer move is this? It was naturally a compound killer move. This 7 kills Rainbow was modified from the 5 technique Rainbow. The latter was once used by Fang Yuan in Eastern Sea when the Righteous Qi Alliance attacked Xia clan headquarters to retrieve Xia clan's lost territory. 5 technique Rainbow used metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, for a total of 5 paths. But 7 kills Rainbow went a step further, containing the swift wind and violent lightning. It was hard for Star Constellation Immortal Venerable to defend against such a killer move. Because to block this move, she had to simultaneously consider metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, and lightning. These amounted to 7 paths. There were many killer moves that seemingly involved many paths, but they were without any substance in essence. For instance, when Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable fought with Limitless Will in Crazed Demon Cave, he had used a killer move that imitated other paths' strength. The essence of the killer move was still one path, it was just that it imitated other paths. In fact, to deal with his killer move, only Theft Path needed to be targeted. But 7 kills Rainbow genuinely contained the strength of 7 paths. With just one exchange with Fang Yuan, even the Grand Star Constellation Immortal Venerable felt troubled. One aspect was the difficulty of defending against compound killer moves, the other aspect was Fang Yuan's vast Dao mark accumulation. He had too many Dao marks. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable might have been able to match it before, but the current her had just revived. The three avatars merged into one, their Dao marks were also added together, which became the current star constellation Immortal Venerable's foundation. But clearly, the number of Dao marks that star constellation had was lower than Fong Yuan. 1. The Chinese character for situation/thing is made up of truth and emotion. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2186, Snatching Primordial Domain. Chapter 2186, Snatching Primordial Domain. Crazed Demon Cave. Primordial Domain. Fong Yuan's main body finally fought against a Venerable. Immortal Killer Move, Sword Tongue Dragon Soul. Fong Yuan roared again, his body shook and over 100 evil dragons rapidly condensed around him. The evil dragons roared and charged toward star constellation Immortal Venerable. Another compound killer move. Star constellation Immortal Venerable's pupils shrank slightly. She immediately noted that the evil dragons in front of her contained profundities of at least transformation path and enslavement path. Fong Yuan's Dao mark quantity was horrifying. Although star constellation Immortal Venerable could fight him head-on, that was not her style. She was a wisdom path supreme grandmaster. This was true in her previous life, it was also true now. Her body immediately flickered as the surrounding starlight split into 1,000 specks, each of time transformed into one star constellation Immortal Venerable. Immortal Zombie Giant's son quickly activated his investigative method to distinguish the real body. Fong Yuan's pupils shrank, but he still ordered the dragons to charge forward. The dragons fought with star constellation Immortal Venerable's illusions. Instantly, the whole battlefield was turned into a chaotic scene. The evil dragons bit, swung their tails, stabbed with their horns, or used their claws, some even shot out sharp sword chi with their tongues. At the start of the fight, star constellation Immortal Venerable's illusions were caught off guard and suffered heavy losses. But not long later, they realized the patterns of these evil dragons. Star constellation Immortal Venerable stabilized the situation and began to counterattack. The methods of these star constellation illusions were ordinary. Each illusion only had one killer move and there were only 6 kinds of killer moves altogether. But these star constellation illusions had extremely high cooperation, not much inferior to the 3 avatars. The star constellation illusions used their numerical advantage. About 10 illusions would attack one evil dragon and kill it after sacrificing several illusions. Fong Yuan's evil dragons began to decrease rapidly in number. Fong Yuan's Sword Tongue Dragon Soul has enslavement path profundity, so they can be controlled. But he is far from being star constellation Immortal Venerable's match in terms of wisdom path. Immortal Zombie Giant's son evaluated inwardly. But Fong Yuan knows his strengths and weaknesses as well as the enemies. It would not be worth the effort if he put his attention on carefully controlling the dragon souls. So he is just activating this move repeatedly. Immortal Zombie Giant's son did not interfere for the moment, he just observed from the side. While observing the battle, he continued to activate his methods. Crimson light flew and wrapped the surrounding areas of Primordial Domain, pulling them into his immortal aperture. Information was extremely important to Gu cultivators. Especially when facing an enemy like star constellation Immortal Venerable, killer moves were most effective during the first time they were used. Fong Yuan did not use other methods, he was still activating Sword Tongue Dragon Soul without stopping. Groups of evil dragons that numbered over 100 each continued to rush to the battlefield. They were killed by the star constellation illusions, but they soon gained the upper hand in terms of overall strength. Immortal Zombie Giant's son was inwardly surprised, so this move contains soul path as well. He saw these evil dragons being annihilated, but gradually, the souls of the evil dragons appeared. At first, these dragon souls were extremely weak, their battle strength was only 10% of the evil dragons. But as evil dragons continued to die, the scattered soul path Dao marks in the battlefield surged continuously. The dragon soul beasts born from the deaths of these evil dragons also grew increasingly strong. 20%, 40%, 60%. The evil dragon soul's battle strength continued to increase, finally defeating the star constellation illusions and tilting the battle situation in Fong Yuan's favor. And when there were only dozens of illusions remaining, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's main body could not remain hidden. She smiled at Fang Yuan and actually retreated from the battlefield, taking her leave. Fang Yuan snorted coldly. From this fight, he gained a deeper understanding of Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's nature. Even though Star Constellation Immortal Venerable had revived and clearly had the battle strength to fight Fang Yuan head-on, she did not battle frontally, she was very rational and flexible in thoughts. It was like how she retreated this time and made Fang Yuan's efforts go to waste. These soul path Dao marks on the battlefield were advantageous to Fang Yuan, but with Star Constellation's casual retreat, Fang Yuan had to give chase, giving up this favorable battlefield. It was not pleasant at all to fight with such an opponent. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, hold up. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun smiled, magnificent lights appeared and blocked Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. Good. Fang Yuan praised, taking the chance to catch up. It seemed like the alliance agreement between Longevity Heaven and Fang Yuan was still effective. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun's choice could be explained easily. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun saw Fang Yuan's battle strength, and adding on the fact that he was still in his immortal zombie body, he regarded Heavenly Court as the main enemy. Were Fang Yuan to be weaker, he might have been jointly attacked by Immortal Zombie Giant Sun and Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, to get rid of this easiest target and prevent him from obtaining benefits while the two Venerables fought. Fang Yuan fought Star Constellation Immortal Venerable once again, while Immortal Zombie Giant Sun barely made any moves. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable lightly waved her jade-like hands, sending out a flurry of stars. The stars were extremely fast, whistling through the air as they shot at Fang Yuan's body. Fang Yuan had tried to dodge them before, but these stars had homing ability, they reached him no matter how he dodged. Fang Yuan would need a long time to deduce and plan before he could decipher this killer move. Crack crack. Soft sounds echoed as the light barrier around Fang Yuan started to break. This light barrier was a compound killer move as well, it had outstanding defense, but under the continuous attack of the stars, it had already broken several times. The power of each flying star never changed, but they were tightly connected as a consecutive move. This was very terrifying. Suppose that a flying star's power was 1, the first star would have the battle strength of 1, second would have at least 3, third would have 6. Their strength increased progressively, reaching a terrifying level at the later stages. This was Fairy Minghao's combat system. The barrier of light collapsed, Fang Yuan immediately used a new defensive method, a halo shone above his head. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable smiled. Just like what Heavenly Court's intel described, Fang Yuan was very cautious. After using the defensive killer move a few times, he would change to a new one, afraid that his defensive killer move would be deciphered, which could cause heavy injuries or even death if he was caught off guard. In fact, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's plan was exactly this. However, every time she got some results in her deductions, Fang Yuan would readjust his methods, making her deductions pointless. Fang Yuan, you are really well prepared for this battle, you have been changing your killer moves so frequently, I am really curious how long can you continue this for? Star Constellation Immortal Venerable spoke while using a killer move. This Wisdom Path killer move was formless and invisible. It created a whirlwind out of thin air, but it did not target Fang Yuan, instead targeting the surrounding primordial domain. In an instant, all the areas of primordial domain within thousands of steps were emptied by Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. On the other side, Immortal Zombie Giant Sun sent out golden light similarly, absorbing a small area of the primordial domain into his aperture. Fang Yuan's eyes shone with dark light. These two Venerables had extraordinary methods, they had been absorbing primordial domain even during the battle. Fang Yuan's accumulation was much inferior when compared to them. He had also tried, but did not find an effective method to collect the primordial domain, he could only watch as these two made gains. Since it is so, Fang Yuan resolutely activated a killer move. Flames flew and lightning shot out. Immortal zombie giant Sun had been collecting primordial domain when the lightning fire wave formed by Fang Yuan's killer move swept over and emptied out the areas of primordial domain around him. Immortal zombie giant Sun failed to gain anything, but he remained silent. Fang Yuan activated another move. Strong winds blew, an ice storm filled the area. Immortal zombie giant Sun was implicated once again. The areas of primordial domain he was about to absorb into his immortal aperture were destroyed once again. Immortal zombie giant Sun clenched his teeth while taking a look at Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan activated another move. Eerie souls moved and golden light shone, destroying all the surrounding areas of primordial domain. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable and Immortal Zombie Giant Sun could not help but glance at each other. The former was no longer smiling, while the latter's eyes were twitching. If I can't have it, you can also stop dreaming about it. With this thought, Fang Yuan attacked without any restraint. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable and Immortal Zombie Giant Sun needed some time to collect the primordial domain. Flaws appeared during this process. Fang Yuan was directly destroying primordial domain, which was much faster and more convenient. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun was interrupted again and again, but Fang Yuan used the excuse of attacking Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. He did not suffer restrictions from the alliance agreement, and there was no obvious point to criticize. He was really feeling impatient as he transmitted his voice to Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan, let's negotiate. If you block Star Constellation Immortal Venerable while I collect the primordial domain, we can split the gains with a 7-3 ratio. No, I want half. Fang Yuan immediately answered, as if he had been waiting for this. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun was naturally unwilling. Without my method, you won't be able to collect even a portion of the primordial domain. If you dare to comprehend the primordial domain now, you will be met with Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's attacks. The risk is too high. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun was not wrong. It was not difficult to interrupt the installation of primordial domain. But even Star Constellation Immortal Venerable did not dare to comprehend primordial domain while fighting, and was only trying her best to collect it. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun put forward a fair argument, but Fang Yuan paid him no attention. Boom! Lightning exploded and chi waves rose as the surrounding primordial domain was once again destroyed by Fang Yuan's killer move. Primordial domain might have been a secluded domain of heaven and earth, but it was different from Book Mountain and Dang Hun Mountain. It was fragile. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun gritted his teeth. Fang Yuan used actions to tell him, it had to be 50-50. If you don't agree, then even you, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable, won't get any primordial domain. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun could only relent. Alright, we will split it 50-50. Fang Yuan continued, Giant Sun, can I trouble you to put half of the primordial domain in Treasure Yellow Heaven at your own convenience? Immortal Zombie Giant Sun could not help but open his eyes wide. Fang Yuan urged, don't worry, with me disturbing her with all my strength, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable will not be able to collect much of primordial domain. These words were a reminder to him, look, Heavenly Court is still our biggest enemy. Also, weakening Heavenly Court was also Immortal Zombie Giant Sun's intention all along. Alright. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun sent half of his primordial domain into Treasure Yellow Heaven to express his sincerity. Fang Yuan laughed heartily, attacking Star Constellation Immortal Venerable even more fiercely. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable was only one person. She was starting to suffer losses after Immortal Zombie Giant Sun and Fang Yuan collaborated to target her. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2187, This Rascal Fang Yuan. Chapter 2187, This Rascal Fang Yuan. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable fell into a disadvantage. Fang Yuan was in charge of disturbing her, while Immortal Zombie Giant Sun was collecting primordial domain. Although Star Constellation Immortal Venerable also obtained some with difficulty, her opportunities were decreasing rapidly as she fought with Fang Yuan. After this situation lasted for a while, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable made a decision. She resolutely activated a killer move, attacking primordial domain. The primordial domain's stability was like an avalanche. At first it was only a small piece that got affected, but in just a short while, the collapse became increasingly severe. Immortal zombie giant Sun gave a shout, sending out a golden-red aurora light. He succeeded in obstructing star constellation Immortal Venerable's killer move. However, she activated the killer move again. Fang Yuan. Immortal zombie giant Sun shouted. Even without Immortal zombie giant Sun's reminder, Fang Yuan was already attacking fiercely to force star constellation Immortal Venerable to defend and give up on destroying primordial domain. This time, it was star constellation Immortal Venerable's turn to use killer moves continuously. Since the battle started, this was the first time she had taken the initiative to attack. Immortal zombie giant Sun's response was not fast enough. Many of these offensive methods were used for the first time by star constellation Immortal Venerable. Immortal zombie giant Sun was not able to effectively block them. Rumble. After dozens of moves, primordial domain was completely destroyed. Most of the destruction was done by star constellation Immortal Venerable. Star constellation, you live up to your reputation. Immortal zombie giant Sun praised in amazement. Star constellation Immortal Venerable saw that her efficiency in collecting primordial domain could not compare to Fang Yuan and Immortal zombie giant Sun's joint effort, so she directly attacked primordial domain instead. Such decisiveness and rationality, she was indeed an Immortal Venerable of human history, the second-generation Immortal King of Heavenly Court. This place is. Fang Yuan's expression was slightly strange. Primordial domain was completely destroyed, but he did not fall down from the sky. Instead, he found himself in a void. There was no trace of the worlds of the 8th layer of Crazed Demon Cave. This is Crazed Demon Cave's 9th layer. Immortal zombie giant Sun said. He slowly flew over and stood 100 steps away from Fang Yuan as they faced star constellation Immortal Venerable together. Previously, Heavenly Court used Thieving Heaven's true inheritance and the captives in Divine Emperor City to lure Fang Yuan and Immortal zombie giant Sun into taking action, giving them time to seize the primordial domain. Immortal zombie giant Sun and Fang Yuan responded extremely quickly, mobilizing all their forces without caring for consequences. Heavenly Court had experienced the Fate War and were no longer in their prime condition. They could not block the joint attack of the two forces. Since they could not seize it, star constellation Immortal Venerable could only choose the next best alternative. She directly flew into primordial domain and raised her wisdom path to Supreme Grandmaster attainment level. However, Fang Yuan, Immortal zombie giant Sun, and other pseudo-venerables also entered primordial domain. The battle situation gradually escaped from star constellation Immortal Venerable's grasp, forcing her to destroy the whole of primordial domain. Primordial domain was not seized by her, it was actually still in the 9th layer. The moment star constellation Immortal Venerable, Fang Yuan, and other immortals entered primordial domain, they had also entered Crazed Demon Cave's 9th layer. The void in this 9th layer is far smaller than the 8th layer. Is this the truthful floating ice depicted in the legends of Ren Zu? Fang Yuan stared at star constellation Immortal Venerable while also noticing the mysterious floating ice behind her. These bluish-white floating pieces of ice were of all sizes and had a huge quantity. They were floating quietly, they did not rotate by themselves, but because of the attractive forces between them, they flew around in groups. All the flying floating ice groups were slowly orbiting around the center. From afar, these orbiting pieces of truthful floating ice looked like a giant ball on the whole. The truthful floating ice's orbit was filled with mysterious profundity. Fang Yuan felt dizzy after just taking several glances. He intuitively sensed that these truthful floating ice pieces were continuing to grow bigger. Looks like this formation is the foundation for the construction of the whole of Crazed Demon Cave. Book Mountain and Primordial Domain are the cores that Heavenly Court took out from this formation. Amazing, truly incredible. This rank 9 formation keeps on orbiting and deducing, these truthful floating ice pieces are its gains. Those dead Gu immortals and immortal apertures in the 8th layer are the fuel for this formation and also the clues for deductions. If so, the derivation Gu recorded in the legends of Ren Zu and Limitless Demon Venerable's study of eternal life are at the center of the formation. Just as Fang Yuan was thinking this, immortal zombie giant Sun shouted in a cold tone. At the next moment, a luck path killer move pierced through Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable dissipated like a bubble. Her true body appeared, but it was no longer in front of Fang Yuan, she had already entered the rank 9 formation. Immortal zombie giant Sun's expression sank slightly. Such a good method, this illusion was destroyed with one touch, but even I was unable to detect it was a fake. If not for a fluctuation in my luck, I would still have no clue. We need to move quickly. Limitless Demon Venerable used everything to arrange Crazed Demon Cave, and it has been deducing for over 1,000,000 years. We can't let these gains go to Heavenly Court. Why would Fang Yuan hesitate? He immediately moved with Immortal Zombie Giant Sun and arrived at the periphery of the formation. The two immortals stopped. This formation is really terrifying. All the truthful floating ice are formation cores and also the safest places. All the other areas besides them are extremely dangerous. If we stop at other areas, we will be crushed by the formation. Fang Yuan's heart jumped as he saw this. This rank 9 formation's crushing force came from the fusion of sacrificing countless Gu immortals and great worlds, even he would not be able to endure it. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun inspected for a bit and jumped on a piece of truthful floating ice. Be they the leading star constellation Immortal Venerable or Immortal Zombie Giant Sun, they both made the same choice. Fang Yuan was naturally going to follow them. He jumped on an elephant-sized truthful floating ice. The moment he stepped on the floating ice, a strong guilty conscience attacked Fang Yuan's heart, like he was a bandit that had invaded a peaceful village. Fang Yuan's expression changed slightly as he quickly resisted this strong emotion. After adapting to it, Fang Yuan jumped to the second truthful floating ice. This time, an intense sadness engulfed his heart, the intensity was higher than before. Fang Yuan gritted his teeth and adapted to it with difficulty. He looked ahead. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun had already jumped to the fifth truthful floating ice, while Star Constellation Immortal Venerable was far ahead, already at the central area of the formation. I don't have time. Fang Yuan was hurried, he quickly jumped to the third floating ice. The outcome of the fight in the primordial domain was not ideal to Fang Yuan. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable and Immortal Zombie Giant Sun were likely to have already regained their Supreme Grandmaster attainment level, while Fang Yuan's refinement path was still lacking. However, since the opponent was the Grand Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, this outcome was also within Fang Yuan's expectations. The primordial domain's battle was already like that. He could not let these two Venerables get their hands on Limitless Demon Venerable's Eternal Life research results as well. Eternal Life, Eternal Life. Fang Yuan mumbled. Reaching Eternal Life was Fang Yuan's goal and dream. Even if he did not obtain it, he could not let it fall into other people's hands. The deeper into the formation, the higher the intensity of the emotions brought by the truthful floating ice. These emotions were of all kinds, some were happiness, some were grief, some were sadness, some were anger. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable was still taking the lead. Her advantage in this formation was extremely obvious. Firstly, the game of chess back then was the fight between Limitless Will and Star Constellation's Will. Secondly, Heavenly Court had already begun infiltrating 300,000 years ago. Genesis Lotus Immortal Venerable's Green Lotus Great World was the best proof. Lastly, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable cultivated Wisdom Path. Wisdom Path had three aspects: thought, will, and emotion. Dealing with emotions and even using them to battle was what Wisdom Path was most proficient in. With all these reasons, it was no wonder Star Constellation Immortal Venerable rushed to the formation instead of fighting. But Star Constellation Immortal Venerable stepped on a truthful floating ice and gazed back, her brows slightly furrowed. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun was rushing forward, constantly drawing nearer to Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable was not surprised about this. The deeper into the formation, the more terrifying the intensity of the emotions and the more obstruction they created for Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun had not hesitated to leave Luck Suppression Heavenly Palace behind to take part in the deductions. He himself had seized reckless savage demon Venerable's savage wilderness great world in his era. Reckless savage demon Venerable came after limitless demon Venerable. When reckless savage demon Venerable entered crazed demon cave, it was over 1,000,000 years ago. Thus, immortal zombie giant Sun also had a high understanding of crazed demon cave. And his luck path methods also helped him to choose the most suitable path. But why is Fang Yuan also getting close? It even seems like he is going to surpass immortal zombie giant Sun. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable frowned. This was beyond her expectations. Heavenly Court had naturally handed all the information about Fang Yuan to her. So, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable knew Fang Yuan very well. She knew that although Fang Yuan's wisdom path attainment was also extremely high, his specialty was not in deducing but in guarding against others' deductions. From this, it was clear that though Heavenly Court's expedition against Fang Yuan had failed repeatedly, they had considerable gains as well. At least, under Heavenly Court's pressure, Fang Yuan had to give up on deductions, the handling of emotions, and other aspects of wisdom path. He could concentrate only on raising his defense against deductions. Right now was obviously Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's time to profit, but how could Fang Yuan still pursue them closely? Not only was Star Constellation Immortal Venerable surprised, even immortal zombie giant Sun was astonished. He watched as Fang Yuan jumped forward rapidly and surpassed him. Immortal zombie giant Sun sensed a peculiar aura from Fang Yuan's body. Suddenly, he understood the truth. Fortitude Gu. Immortal zombie giant Sun's mind jolted, gritting his teeth. He recognized the aura of Fortitude Gu. Fang Yuan had never been good at hiding his aura, and there was also no need to hide it at this moment. So it was him. Immortal zombie giant Sun finally realized that the biggest mastermind who plotted against He Lulan in Myriad Beast Fusion Color Heaven was Fang Yuan. This rascal took away Fortitude Gu and Ability Gu from Myriad Beast Fusion Color Heaven. These two Strength Path Immortal Gu are at rank 8. Fortitude Gu can suppress emotions, no wonder he is at ease in this formation. Don't tell me, Myriad Beast Fusion Color Heaven is also Reckless Savage Demon Venerable's arrangement to help Fang Yuan. Immortal zombie giant Sun's thoughts started to run amok. He suddenly had a bad feeling. Although I seized Savage Wilderness Great World, Reckless Savage Demon Venerable still arranged for Fang Yuan to obtain Fortitude Gu and Ability Gu. Then, the portion of Thieving Heaven's true inheritance that I extracted before, could it also be bait arranged by Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2188, Bedazzlement. Chapter 2188, Bedazzlement. Northern Plains. Two figures were flying in the air and exchanging killer moves rapidly, air currents and thunder resounded constantly. Among them, the male immortal who was dressed in a white robe cultivated light path. He had a skinny body and a sharp face, and his eyes were small like beans. Meanwhile, the female immortal was covered in dark gold armor and was wearing a half mask, her every move was filled with domineering aura. Besides these two, there were over 10 Gu immortals watching the battle in the surroundings. Big brother, quickly kill this bitch. The female immortal Lu Luo shouted with her gaze fixed on the battlefield. Beside her were Lu tribe's Gu immortal elders. Besides them, other Huang Jin tribe Gu immortals also came, like Chanyu tribe's Chanyu Xiong and Gong tribe's Gong Tong Kuai. The male immortal in combat was a famous rank 7 expert of Northern Plains righteous path, Lu Chang. The female immortal was He Lulan. He Lulan used Black Moon as her alias and challenged experts everywhere. After defeating Chen Cheng and Yin Wu Kei, she continued to challenge lone and demonic immortal experts. She was not defeated even once, her reputation rose rapidly, shocking Northern Plains. The two siblings Lu Chang and Lu Luo had failed to recruit Yin Wu Kei, and even came into conflict with He Lulan. To take revenge, Lu Chang publicly challenged Fairy Black Moon. Once the news got out, it immediately shocked Northern Plains' Gu immortal world. This battle was the result of that. Immortal killer move, Light Horse Crossing. Lu Chang activated a killer move, a small steed appeared below his legs, carrying him into the sky with a rapid speed. This movement killer move was exceptional. It allowed Lu Chang to maintain a fixed distance from He Lulan throughout the battle. After the loss against He Lulan the previous time, Lu Chang sensibly chose a long-ranged battle tactic in this battle. Big brother, this is it. Let that bitch suffer more and die in vain later. Ha ha ha. Lu Luo cheered on Lu Chang with a shrill voice. Her laughter was very painful to the ears. But right at this time, He Lulan's figure disappeared from her spot. It was an illusion. When did she do it? Lu Chang was shocked and knew he was tricked, subconsciously dodging. But He Lulan's true body immediately appeared behind him. Bam bam bam. Fist shadows rained down and enveloped Lu Chang firmly. Lu Chang screamed while trying his best to activate defensive killer moves to endure the beating. Lu Luo's laughter stopped abruptly. He Lulan's attacks were extremely fierce, even the Gu immortal spectators felt their eyelids twitch. Great! Awesome beating! She finally caught this crafty Lu Chang. Among the spectators, the lone and demonic immortals cheered and praised. In this group, besides Chen Cheng, Wu Guang, and Yin Wu Kei, there were also many other people. Some of these people were defeated by He Lulan, while some heard of He Lulan's deeds and followed her of their own accord. Lady Black Moon has the upper hand. Wu Guang transmitted his voice while smiling. Don't you feel that Lady Black Moon has grown stronger recently? Now that I think of it, Lady Black Moon has been challenging others continuously, her battle strength has been rising during these challenges. Brother Wu, could it be that you don't sense it? Yin Wu Kei was bewildered. Wu Guang mumbled, shaking his head and transmitting his voice, I also noticed it. But how could there be such rapid progress and growth in this world? It might be that Lady Black Moon was hiding her strength before, or maybe she had been in closed cultivation all this time and started to connect her methods with the increase in her battle experience, thus, it caused us to feel that her battle strength is increasing rapidly. Yin Wu Kei nodded and was about to speak, when there was a change in the battle. Gu Immortal Lu Chang was indeed worthy of being a famous expert in Northern Plains. After some efforts, he finally escaped from He Lulan's attack range. He Lulan naturally did not want to let him go and immediately gave chase. But Lu Chang suddenly stopped, smiling darkly towards her. Black Moon, you have fallen into my trap. Immortal killer move, bedazzlement. In an instant, intense light exploded, enveloping the whole battlefield. The Gu immortal spectators closed their eyes immediately, even He Lulan shut her eyes subconsciously. But when she opened her eyes again, the scene was still completely white. She was struck by the killer move bedazzlement, her vision turned into a scene of white and she could no longer see. Damn it, Lu Chang actually learned this killer move. No wonder he was not afraid to openly challenge Lady Black Moon. This move is Lu Tribe's trump card method. Once a Gu cultivator is hit with this move, it will be extremely difficult for them to recover unless they use Lu Tribe's special recovery method. Many lone and demonic immortals had changed expressions, the mood immediately became heavy. This battle was not just a simple fight between Lu Chang and He Lulan. In the current situation, this battle already held much political meaning. Fairy Black Moon, who had no roots or background, represented the lone immortal faction, while Lu Chang represented Northern Plains' righteous path. Ever since the Fate War, Northern Plains' longevity heaven had been actively uniting Northern Plains' Gu immortal world. Lone and demonic experts like Yin Wu Kei were actively recruited by the Huang Jin tribes, and the recruitment process was extremely forceful. So be it for the few lone immortals who were willing to accept this, however, the main thing was that most of the lone immortals and demonic immortals rejected this. But being lone forces, they did not want to offend those Northern Plains righteous path forces, so they kept silent even though they were furious. Under this situation, He Lulan's appearance was like a rallying banner for these Gu immortals. He Lulan dared to issue challenges everywhere without fearing the Huang Jin tribes, which gave these lone and demonic immortals a huge boost of morale. Especially now that Snowy Mountain Blessed Land was destroyed and the demonic head old ancestor Shui who had hidden himself, the lone and demonic cultivators needed a leader. Because of this, Wu Guang, Yin Wu Kei, and others followed He Lulan on their own initiative. Many lone and demonic immortals came to observe this battle and support He Lulan. He Lulan was struck by the killer move and could not see anything. These Gu immortals became extremely anxious and worried. Lu Chang easily retreated, smiling. Immortal killer move, vitality glow. His injuries began to heal slowly. Immortal killer move, gleaming light. Light shone around him, like countless gleaming fish scales. This is not good. Chen Qing frowned, this move restricts investigative methods. Yin Wu Kei and Wu Guang stopped conversing secretly as they fixed their gazes on the battlefield. Even if Gu immortals could not see, they had all kinds of investigative methods. But with Lu Chang using this killer move, other investigative methods might be useless. Since she could not see, He Lulan simply closed her eyes. She was not panicking, instead, she sighed lightly, Lu Chang, oh Lu Chang, it is such a pity, you missed your final chance. Lu Chang was stunned before scoffing, Fairy Black Moon, who are you trying to bluff? You have already lost, how can you counter my Lu tribe's bedazzlement killer move in this battle? There is no use in stalling for time. He Lulan did not retort. She replied to him with her actions. A killer move was activated. Immortal killer move, dark capital strength Biao. A black tiger condensed into solid form. This move again. A trace of solemnness flashed on Lu Chang's face. It is different now. Yin Wu Kei's eyes shone, this dark gold tiger seems to have grown wings. What? I didn't see it clearly. Wu Guang quickly replied. The moment the totem black tiger condensed, it disappeared, many including Wu Guang did not see it properly. Where is it? Does it have the ability to hide itself? Lu Chang's expression changed slightly as he activated investigative methods. But at the next moment, his pupils shrank to pin size, his face was filled with shock and horror. The giant dark gold tiger appeared behind him. Whoosh! The tiger swatted, sending Lu Chang flying like a rubber ball. Howling winds rang past Lu Chang's ears while his vision spun like a whirlpool, he felt terrified internally. That attack had huge strength, almost destroying his defensive killer move. It is not that the black tiger has a concealment method, the reason is its speed, it is too fast, simply too fast to react to. The dark gold tiger's speed was so fast that it had already surpassed the limit of what the Gu immortals' naked eyes could perceive. It was like a phantom, appearing and disappearing suddenly. Every time it appeared, it sent Lu Chang flying. Lu Chang was completely at a disadvantage with no strength to retaliate. If he could use light horse crossing, he might be able to escape for some time. But right now, he had fallen into a passive position and had to focus all his strength in maintaining his defensive methods, otherwise, he might be turned into meat paste by the black tiger. Rumble. The black tiger's strike sent Lu Chang flying to the ground. Dust clouds rose, a deep crater formed, Lu Chang remained unmoving, he had fallen unconscious. Brother! Lu Luo screamed shrilly, pointing at He Lulan, you bitch, you killed my brother. How dare you do this? I want you to die, I want you to die. She was about to charge forward but was stopped firmly by a Lu tribe elder. Right at this time, a feeling of joy spread in her heart. Lu Luo was stunned. She felt incredulous at herself, Big Brother is in such a state but I feel happy. The other righteous path immortals also had a change in their expressions, they were all feeling happiness. Gong Tong Kwai slightly shook his head to calm himself, saying in a quiet voice, Lu tribe's fairy, please don't be anxious, brother Lu is not dead yet. Calm down, so many people are looking, don't cause Lu tribe to lose face. A Lu tribe elder berated and flew towards the battlefield. He cupped his fists towards He Lulan, Fairy Black Moon, you have won this battle. He had just said that, when he almost started crying. An intense wave of sadness filled his heart. He Lulan nodded, okay, so what about this battle's wager? She did not feel well either. First was the baffling happiness, followed by the intense sadness, what in the world was going on? Lu tribe's elder forcefully calmed down, replying to He Lu Lan, "It has been sent to treasure Yellow Heaven." Since Lu Chang lost, and with so many people watching, Lu tribe's elder had to openly send a considerable amount of cultivation resources to treasure Yellow Heaven. Treasure Yellow Heaven had treasure light to distinguish value of the items. At the same time, it also showed Lu tribe's openness and upright handling of the loss. The immortals present used their Gu worms to connect to treasure Yellow Heaven. They saw Lu tribe's wager indeed. That secluded domain of heaven and earth is still there. More accurately, this is a portion of the primordial domain. I wonder which great expert is openly transacting the primordial domain. The Gu immortal's attention was drawn to another direction. Not long ago, a portion of the primordial domain had appeared in treasure Yellow Heaven, shocking the entire 5 regions Gu immortal world. Yin Wu Kei shouted to bring back the attention of the immortals. According to the agreement, please dispel the bedazzlement killer move on Fairy Black Moon's body. Naturally, Lu tribe's elder used a killer move straightforwardly, restoring He Lu Lan's vision. He Lu Lan slightly nodded at the Lu tribe elder, and withdrew the dark capital strength Biao which was beside Lu Chang. This totem killer move had gone through modifications, its battle strength surged and it had already become her unique method. Chen Qing breathed a sigh of relief when he saw this. Lady Black Moon's reputation is going to rise even higher. Lu Luo carried Lu Chang, while saying with hatred, "Black Moon, don't be pleased with yourself. Our righteous path is filled with experts. You might have won against brother by chance, but can you win against others? Let's not talk of others, just Chu tribe's first supreme elder Chu Du is someone you won't be able to surpass." However, right at this time, an intense emotion of affection rose in her heart. Lu Luo's expression turned twisted immediately. What's going on? Why do I have such a strong feeling of affection when I look at this Black Moon whore? He Lu Lan did not feel well either, but her expression did not change as she sneered, "Chu Du. I have heard of his name, he also cultivates strength path. I am challenging him next." The lone and demonic immortal's expressions changed. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2189, The Answer to Eternal Life. Chapter 2189, The Answer to Eternal Life. Crazed Demon Cave. 9th Layer. 4 Gu immortals arrived at the periphery of the Crazed Demon Formation. This is the truthful floating ice. Zhan Bu's eyebrows rose. Seems like it is not easy to enter deep into this formation. Sea Ancestor was solemn. Unlike the main body, they did not have the assistance of Fortitude Gu. Star Constellation is at the front, nearest to the center of the formation. Giant Sun Immortal Venerable is second, while Fang Yuan is the last. Lu Wei Yin's heart tensed up as he looked ahead. Fang Yuan did not have the upper hand, so Lu Wei Yin had to do his best to help him. Demon Immortal Qi Ju stared at the formation in front of him. He mumbled softly as if recalling something of the past. Limitless, this fellow. He leaped forward and stepped on a piece of truthful floating ice. The other 3 immortals glanced at each other before moving as well. The record in the legends of Ren Zu was true. The pieces of the truthful floating ice were of different sizes and shapes in the eyes of different people. The emotional impact they felt were different as well. Because of this, Gu immortals could not move forward in a group. The best method was to move alone, choosing the floating ice most suitable for oneself. Fang Yuan had been maintaining the activation of Fortitude Gu. This Gu was only at rank 8 level, while this crazed demon formation was as high as rank 9. The deeper he went into the formation, the stronger the emotions he felt. When he had just activated Fortitude Gu, these emotions could be ignored and he did not feel anything. But now, Fang Yuan felt like when he had just stepped on the formation and started probing it. As for Immortal Zombie Giant Sun and Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, after these 2 recognized Fang Yuan's method, they brought out their trump cards. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun activated Familial Emotion Gu, sharing his emotions to others. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable brought out a mysterious secluded domain of heaven and earth. This secluded domain looked like a cage as well as a lantern. Fang Yuan could not help but recall a certain chapter in The Legends of Ren Zu. The two Venerables' foundation was much deeper than Fang Yuan's. They had also made ample preparations for Crazed Demon Cave. Thus, Fang Yuan still fell back to the last position among the three. Fang Yuan did not give up, continuing to move forward while gritting his teeth. The situation was getting worse. The emotional impacts became stronger, shaking his mind and spirit. But Fang Yuan was happy instead. Since he was receiving such fierce emotional impacts here, the two Venerables who were ahead would face even fiercer emotions. Fang Yuan's perseverance soon got favorable results. The leading star Constellation Immortal Venerable was moving increasingly slower. She needed to rest for a long while after stepping on a piece of the truthful floating ice before she could move forward. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's speed became slow. Immortal Zombie Giant's son was the same. Gradually, the distance between the three Gu Immortals started to shorten. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable often looked back. Immortal Zombie Giant's son who was in the middle also stopped often and observed Star Constellation Immortal Venerable and Fang Yuan. This was a difficult journey. The three immortals fully realized each other's vast tenacity and patience. After this situation continued for a while, a change occurred. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. She collapsed on the truthful floating ice. Her body flashed with deep blue starlight. After the starlight dimmed, it actually split into three, becoming three avatars again. Could it be that Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's revival is not complete and she has only revived temporarily? The stable state is still in the form of three pseudo-venerables. Fang Yuan's thoughts shook. Immortal Zombie Giant's son felt an urge to take action, a chance. He gritted his teeth and persevered, slowly surpassing Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. Star Constellation's three avatars stopped on the same truthful floating ice. They were trying to recuperate as soon as possible. When Fang Yuan overtook them, he hesitated for a moment. Should he take advantage of this situation? Fang Yuan quickly suppressed this impulse. Right now, he was deep in limitless Crazed Demon formation. If he were to even make an attack, he might trigger limitless countermeasures. His situation might be even more severe than the Qi Si clones. Moreover, if Fang Yuan were to fight with Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, would it not be giving an advantage to Immortal Zombie Giant Son? Look at Immortal Zombie Giant Son. He directly went to the center of the formation without paying attention to Star Constellation's three avatars. If regaining Supreme Grandmaster attainment level gave these Venerables the initiative, then gaining Limitless Demon Venerable's deduction results might let the winner rise above other Venerables. Fang Yuan was increasingly certain of this speculation. It is time. Fang Yuan stopped on a truthful floating ice piece, enduring the vast emotional impact as he activated an Immortal Killer move. Immortal Killer move, calm and steady. The killer move's effect was immediate. The vast and strong emotions that were crushing Fang Yuan and almost destroyed his mental state disappeared almost completely. Fang Yuan possessed countless Immortal Gu recipes along with just as many killer moves. This calm and steady killer move was part of them. This move required two main cores, Calm Gu and Suppression Gu. Fang Yuan did not have Calm Gu and was unable to refine Immortal level Calm Gu, but he had Fortitude Gu. Previously, Fang Yuan had been moving while modifying the killer move, and was finally able to use this move now. As for Suppression Gu, Fang Yuan had it. Speaking of which, he needed to thank Heavenly Court. Before the Fate War, Fang Yuan had fought several battles with Heavenly Court's Gu Immortals in the River of Time. In one such battle, Fang Yuan destroyed the River Suppression Lotus Ceiling Formation, obtaining Suppression Gu from it. Suppression Gu was rank 8, Fortitude Gu was also rank 8. The killer move with two rank 8 cores would naturally have stronger effect than just Fortitude Gu alone. Fang Yuan's speed increased again. However, he had already been somewhat far from immortal zombie giant Sun before, so despite trying his best, Fang Yuan could not catch up to him. I did not expect giant Sun immortal Venerable to be the first to reach the center. Lu Wei-yin heaved a deep sigh. Under Fang Yuan's, star constellation's 3 avatars, and other pseudo-venerables' gazes, immortal zombie giant Sun suddenly stopped. He stopped on the truthful floating ice that could be said to be 1 step away from the largest truthful floating ice at the center. Immortal zombie giant Sun showed hesitation at this moment. What was he hesitating for? While he was hesitating, Fang Yuan caught up. Fang Yuan, it is somewhat strange here. Immortal zombie giant Sun spoke. Ever since he and Fang Yuan entered the formation, they were competing secretly. The mood between the two became strained. This was their first conversation. Fang Yuan's eyes shone as he carefully sized up the truthful floating ice in front of him. For a moment, he was unable to find any clues. But he did not take a risk to step forward. Immortal zombie giant Sun was the best model. He was so close to success, but he still stopped. It could be seen that there was definitely something strange. It is odd indeed. Fang Yuan nodded, revealing an expression of realization. Immortal zombie giant Sun was slightly surprised. The reason he stopped was because his luck path investigative killer move showed a slight fluctuation, making him feel something wrong, but he was unable to tell what it was. However, looking at Fang Yuan's expression, did he realize a crucial point? Immortal zombie giant Sun had been putting a lot of attention on Fang Yuan. In his view, Fang Yuan was chosen by heaven's will. He had talent that ordinary people could not match. To cause the destruction of Fate Gu, many venerables helped Fang Yuan. Moreover, Paradise Earth Immortal Venerable, Thieving Heaven Demon Venerable, and Reckless Savage Demon Venerable were still helping him now. Even if immortal zombie giant Sun did not think highly of Fang Yuan, he could not disregard the other venerables. So, he did not find it strange for Fang Yuan to see a crucial clue when he could not. Please enlighten me on what you found out. Immortal zombie giant Sun said. Fang Yuan was surprised. Immortal zombie giant Sun had the dignity of a grand venerable, but he actually took the initiative to ask for guidance with no mental obstruction. However, Fang Yuan had actually not noticed anything. Therefore, he first looked back at star constellation Immortal Venerable. Those 3 fairies were still at the original spot, resting with their eyes closed. Then, Fang Yuan looked at immortal zombie giant Sun, smiling. The eternal life research results are not easily obtained, but we can share them. Giant Sun, how do you want to pay? No matter what the oddity was, he would first extort some benefits from giant Sun Immortal Venerable. Immortal zombie giant Sun's eyes shone. He was just about to speak when a person actually came out of the truthful floating ice at the center. Ha! Immortal zombie giant Sun's attention was immediately attracted. Fang Yuan was also stunned. Afterwards, star constellation's 3 avatars, Lu Wei-yin and the rest also discovered this abnormality. A rank 7 Gu immortal came out of the truthful floating ice. Fang Yuan even recognized this rank 7 Gu immortal. It was not immortal of the 3 crazed demon eccentrics. The 3 crazed demon eccentrics were Wisdom Path Gu Immortal Secret Schemer, Birth Path Gu Immortal Pang Shan, and Rule Path Gu Immortal Not Immortal respectively. These 3 lived in Crazed Demon Cave. They had been trying to find a way to enter the deepest layer of Crazed Demon Cave, to obtain the secret of eternal life. Regarding this goal, they and Fang Yuan were kindred spirits. The 3 crazed demon eccentrics did not have enough strength, they could not even enter the 8th layer, so they took in the strength path Gu Immortal Chu Du then invited Fang Yuan, which was how Fang Yuan entered Crazed Demon Cave. Later, to prepare for the Fate War, Fang Yuan came to Crazed Demon Cave to invite the 3 crazed demon eccentrics to take part in the battle. The 3 crazed demon eccentrics agreed, but they were not seen throughout the Fate War and even after it. Thus, they lost contact with Fang Yuan. Who could have thought that Not Immortal would actually appear here? Not Immortal looked at immortal zombie giant Sun and was stunned, immediately showing a vigilant expression. He did not recognize immortal zombie giant Sun, but from the terrifying aura, he knew this immortal zombie could not be provoked. He then looked at Fang Yuan, his brows rose as he revealed joy. Fang Yuan, you are finally here. Immortal zombie giant Sun's mind jolted, he immediately turned around to look at Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan, you made such deep arrangements, I am in admiration. Fang Yuan shook his head, how could I possibly arrange this? Not immortal, I wonder if secret schemer and Pang Shan. Not immortal immediately replied, they are inside. He then showed an ashamed expression, the three of us agreed to your request to participate in the fate war and fight Heavenly Court. But that day, there was suddenly a change in crazed demon cave, and us three were pulled into here. With limitless demon Venerable's will's guidance, we understood the full details. Because us three lived here for a long time, our sincerity was finally seen by Lord Limitless Will. He arranged for us to be here to cooperate with the formation, by controlling Practice Gu to carve this piece of truthful floating ice. Once all the worlds in the 8th layer are merged into one, they will disappear completely and turn into clues and energy for this crazed demon formation's derivation. Then, we will finish carving this truthful floating ice and find the method of eternal life. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2190, Star Constellation Scheme. Chapter 2190, Star Constellation Scheme. Method of Eternal Life. Immortal zombie giant Sun's eyes shined with bright light. Not immortal did not hide anything. The immortals present on the scene were all peak experts of the current 5 regions, they all heard it. In an instant, the immortals' hearts pounded with excitement. Gu immortals could obtain longevity, but they were bound by lifespan, fate, and other restrictions. Even though fate was destroyed now, and lifespan restrictions were greatly relaxed, they could still be killed by a stronger enemy. Eternal life was absolutely greater than longevity. Speaking of longevity, the 10,000 years old turtle living in the sea could also be considered to have longevity, but it could not be considered to have eternal life. Eternal life meant that everyone and everything could not threaten the individual's existence. It meant complete invincibility. Be it time, space, or living beings, none could threaten an entity with eternal life. The concept of eternal life was paramount and above all. Even Venerables only had longevity and could not be said to have eternal life. Especially now that multiple Venerables existed in the same era, they threatened each other's existence. Shortly afterwards, there was commotion ahead. Secret Schemer also came out from the central truthful floating ice. Secret Schemer cultivated wisdom path, after seeing the situation in the formation, his mind shook as he quickly said, us three need to maintain the activation of Practice Gu at all times, there has to be someone activating it and carving this truthful floating ice piece continuously. It is still too early now. It is not ready yet. The great worlds in the 8th layer are still not destroyed, so many lifeforms are still living. Secret Schemer then urged, Fang Yuan, I am aware of your goal. But right now, it is best if you don't step in here. Us three have already used all kinds of methods, after we stepped on this truthful floating ice piece, we are unable to get off. That is, unless the derivation is complete or the formation is destroyed. He is right. Immortal zombie giant Sun nodded. After he stopped, he had been secretly activating methods to investigate and deduce. He still needed some time, but with Secret Schemer's reply, Immortal zombie giant Sun checked it and realized Secret Schemer was not lying. Secret Schemer was solemn, but showed anticipation as well as resolution, continuing, the most important thing now is to protect this formation and hasten Limitless Demon Venerable's arrangements, letting this formation complete its derivation. Fang Yuan, we have the same goals, please protect the formation and guard against all these malicious characters. The three of us will stake everything including our lives to maintain the usage of Practice Gu. They did not know Immortal Zombie Giant Sun's true identity. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable also split into 3 avatars, their intel seemed to stop at the period before the Fate War. Fang Yuan's thoughts moved rapidly, he first nodded toward Secret Schemer before looking back at Star Constellation's 3 avatars with a solemn expression. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun sighed and turned to look at Star Constellation's 3 avatars as well. I don't want us to be schemed against. The moment he said that, Ming Hao, Yuxiu, and Fomya opened their eyes. Starlight emerged as the 3 fairies converged once again. At the next moment, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable appeared. Rise! Star Constellation Immortal Venerable said softly. There was a sudden change in crazed demon formation. The truthful floating ice's orbiting speed became faster and seemed to trap Fong Yuan and Immortal Zombie Giant Sun inside. Star Constellation's Will and Limitless will have been deriving Heaven Path research results using their game in Heavenly Court. Heavenly Court had infiltrated crazed demon formation deeply. They were able to take out the cores, Book Mountain and Primordial Domain, so how could they not know about the situation of crazed demon formation's derivation? Star Constellation Immortal Venerable used this to exploit Fong Yuan and Immortal Zombie Giant Sun's lack of information. Her main body personally moved to lure Fong Yuan and Immortal Zombie Giant Sun deep into crazed demon formation. Be it Primordial Domain or crazed demon formation, Immortal Zombie Giant Sun and Fong Yuan would not let Star Constellation Immortal Venerable obtain either easily. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable used this to trap Fong Yuan and Immortal Zombie Giant Sun. Crazed demon formation changed. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun and Fong Yuan quickly tried to get back. However, crazed demon formation had become a lot more dangerous than before. Truthful floating ice pieces even collided with each other. If they were careless and fell off the floating ice, they would be crushed to a pulp by the terrifying strength of the formation. Even if they wanted to jump to a different floating ice, they would need to deduce and wait till the formless force between the floating ice pieces weakened before they could take the risk. Fong Yuan was already deeply in danger as he hopped over several truthful floating ice pieces. He turned around and inquired loudly, "Secret Schemer, can you 3 control this formation?" Secret Schemer shook his head. "We 3 are only in charge of activating Practice Gu." Not Immortal was pale. As expected of Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, she actually infiltrated the formation to such a degree that she can even be considered half the formation's owner. She activated the formation but did not influence its derivation, instead she is accelerating it. Limitless Demon Venerable's arrangements will not trigger from this. Secret Schemer replied in a loud voice, "Please don't destroy these truthful floating ice pieces. They are all a part of the formation. This concerns the success or failure of the derivation. If you 2 make a move, you will definitely cause Limitless Demon Venerable's retaliative method to trigger." Immortal Zombie Giant Sun's expression became unsightly. "Friends, take a rest. We will exchange pointers later." Star Constellation Immortal Venerable smiled and retreated after leaving behind these words. Lu Wei-yin and the other pseudo-venerables instantly prepared themselves for this huge enemy. But Star Constellation Immortal Venerable ignored them. She flew out of the formation and disappeared into the void. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable was worthy of being the #1 person in Wisdom Path. Currently, Fong Yuan and Immortal Zombie Giant Sun were unable to get free. Pseudo-venerables like Qi Si and Qi Ju would not be able to obstruct Star Constellation Immortal Venerable even if they hurried back to the 8th layer. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable had infiltrated crazed demon formation to such a shocking degree. Once she unifies the great worlds in the 8th layer and gains a hold of all the sources of fuel and clues for crazed demon formation's derivation, her grasp over crazed demon formation would rise massively. It was possible that crazed demon formation might even change owners. One could easily fall into a trap if they were careless when fighting against Wisdom Path Gu Immortals. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's scheme was the same. It progressed step by step and was interlinked with each step as it latched onto the enemy's weaknesses. Even Fong Yuan and Immortal Zombie Giant Sun could only fall into the trap unknowingly. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun was solemn as he looked at Fong Yuan. "The situation is urgent. I wonder if friend Fong Yuan has a good plan." Fong Yuan shook his head, sighing indifferently. "This crazed demon cave battle has ended in Heavenly Court's victory. They have prepared for many years and spent a lot of energy, and with Star Constellation Immortal Venerable leading them, it is only natural for them to gain victory. Looks like Heavenly Court is still going to lead the 5 regions for a long time. But as long as I have a breath left in me, I won't let Heavenly Court have an easy time." Immortal Zombie Giant Sun stared at Fong Yuan. Fang Yuan did not look at him, he was continuously deducing the violent formation, looking like he wanted to retreat. Immortal Zombie Giant's son gritted his teeth before laughing and shaking his hand. Friend Fang Yuan, it is too early to be discouraged, please look at my method. At the next moment, golden light spread out from Immortal Zombie Giant's son's body. The threads of golden light shone on the surrounding truthful floating ice pieces, constantly dyeing the floating ice pieces with a golden hue. At the same time, a majestic rank 8 Immortal Gu house flew over from outside the formation. It was Luck Suppression Heavenly Palace. Luck Suppression Heavenly Palace stopped outside the formation for a while before entering the formation directly. Lu Wei-yin and the rest exclaimed in surprise, thinking that Immortal Zombie Giant's son wanted to break out forcibly. However, Luck Suppression Heavenly Palace safely entered and orbited alongside other truthful floating ice pieces. It acted like a piece of truthful floating ice as well, just that its appearance was somewhat strange. Friend Giant's son, you have a great method. Fang Yuan could not help as he praised. Immortal Zombie Giant's son snorted, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable could infiltrate the formation, but my luck path methods are also not inferior. It is just that before the formation stops, I won't be able to take out Luck Suppression Heavenly Palace. Let's leave quickly. Luck Suppression Heavenly Palace took part in the operation of Crazed Demon Formation, so Immortal Zombie Giant's son could also influence this formation now. He also copied Star Constellation Immortal Venerable and accelerated the formation. At the same time, he made a way out conveniently. Relying on this, he and Fang Yuan retreated together. As for Lu Wei-yin, Qi Si, and the rest, they were also brought away by Fang Yuan and Immortal Zombie Giant's son to the 8th layer. In this while of delay, the combat in the 8th layer had almost stopped completely. Heavenly Court was victorious. Only half of Longevity Heaven's 8 extremities remained. Bing Sai Chuan was also severely injured. The casualties on Fang Yuan's side were even more severe. Experts like Xiao Hejian and Ice Crystal Immortal Monarch had perished. Star Constellation. Immortal Zombie Giant's son shouted with fury as he charged forward. This time, he was much more active than in the primordial domain. Fang Yuan moved right behind him. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable remained at her spot and did not evade. The other immortals quickly got out of the way in panic. Boom boom boom. The three-sided battle erupted once again. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible.